welcome to another episode of the Firmware Update, your PlayStation podcast for all the news, reviews, and everything in between. I'm one of your hosts, Malcolm Spinetti, and this is episode 1.40. And joining me, as always, Joe Garcia.
Oh, man. Yep, that's me.
So how you been, Joe?
I've been pretty well. It's been a pretty cool week.
Indeed. I hear you got a new job.
I did finally earn gainful employment in this capitalist hellscape that we call America.
Indeed. Where can one find Joe these days?
Well, you can find me very soon over at the Best Buy downtown in the John Hancock building.
Yeah, get in on all those electronic gizmos that we need, man. Do you get a discount on video games?
Yeah.
Really? What kind of discount?
I'm not gonna tell you.
Why can't you? You can discuss it, dude.
I'm not gonna tell you.
Well, you need to discuss it with me because I'm going to be buying my games for you.
That's exactly why I'm not telling you.
Dude, we are a partnership, goddammit. Well, that's good, man. It's been impressive you being able to last what feels like 2 years with no job, but
I'd say about a year exactly, actually.
To the date.
Close, not too far.
And all right, a year with no job is still impressive. With a roof and electricity still, that's impressive. So yeah, congratulations. I can only imagine what it's going to be like with you having some money coming in. I would say maybe you play some video games, but you didn't have a job before, and you still have yet to play Bloodborne. So,
but like I said, I do have Bloodborne, and I've bought several games over the course of my.
That is literally a tenth of the battle. You own Bloodborne,
but I've bought many games over the course of my unemployment, and I've probably got a lot of crippling credit card debt to face and to dive into once I start getting my paycheck.
Oh, I know all about crippling credit card debt. You're not alone on that one, buddy. You're podcasting with the right guy.
It's a great system they've built up.
Have you even taken the plastic off Bloodborne yet?
Yes, I've told you this.
All right. So step 2, you're getting there. Next step is pressing down the middle and releasing the Blu-ray and putting it in your PS4 system.
I mean, I've besides getting a job, I've played a ton of stuff as well.
Oh, okay. Well, what have you been playing?
Well, I've played through Axiom Verge, which we'll talk about in very large detail much later. But very much enjoyed my time with that. Once I beat that, I finally got around to beating Final Fantasy 15, the demo for that, which was cool.
You just now beat it. Wow.
Yeah.
It's funny that you got more playtime out of a free demo than Metal Gear Solid Ground Zero.
I'm not so sure about that.
Okay. Right.
But I guess they're about equal, depending on how much you want to dive into either of those things.
There's actually a $30 difference.
Well, no, because you got to pay $60 to get Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, but you got a whole game too.
Not a very good one, because I played some of that as well, and I wasn't super impressed. It probably has to do with it being technically a 5-year-old PSP game that they just kind of threw onto PS4.
Well, not even. I heard it was a mobile game.
No, I think it was a PSP game. Yeah, it was a PSP game, sure, but
it was meant to be a PSP. Okay.
But the camera is very much still stuck in PSP mode, where you know how since the PSP only had the one stick or nub or whatever, you know how like a lot of games where the camera would kind of be very move pretty much in the direction you move very quickly and stick to you very much. They didn't really fix that.
Oh dear.
So the camera still behaves like you're playing on a PSP, which is very annoying.
I still need to start that because I hear it's a very dark Final Fantasy, which interests me.
Yeah, it is. It starts and people are getting slaughtered left and right. There's blood everywhere. It's holy shit. I didn't even realize that it was an M-rated game until the game arrived from Amazon. I was like, what? Okay. I'm not has there even been an M-rated Final Fantasy game before?
Nope. No.
Yeah, that's very strange. But I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna play a couple of hours of it. So I've heard that the side quests are a bright spot for it. So I'm gonna play a little bit of those before I make a final judgment of that. But so far, not super impressive because the character models are still pretty. I mean, they cleaned them up a little bit, but the lip syncing is still very much much PSP, where they only kind of open and close their mouth as they talk, as opposed to actually, capturing, proper lip movement. So it's got, all the textures are kind of ugly because they're still PSP textures.
Oh, that's not good. No.
So it's very baffling that this is a $60 thing coming out on a PS4. It's like, this would have made more sense as a $40 thing on a Vita, but whatever.
That's not cool. No.
But I'm largely unimpressed, but we'll see down the line.
We'll see. What else have you been playing?
They released this thing on Xbox One to tie into the new Fast and Furious movie. Forza Horizon presents Fast and Furious.
Now, I'm not really into left turn simulators like you are, Joe, but I have to tell you, seeing those wonderful Fast and Furious cars that I recognize,
it's really cool.
Yeah.
Usually, I mean, there's not a lot of great history in terms of, movie tie-ins or specifically even Fast and Furious tie-ins. I don't know if you remember that they released a PS3 game a couple years ago.
I'm trying to forget, but yes.
I think when the 6th movie came out, or sometime between 5 and 6, I think. But that was terrible. But this is basically, they took Forza Horizon 2, which is already a pretty good game that a lot of people really like. And, it's not as big as, the full game, because they released this for free for a couple of weeks, and then it'll be $10 afterwards. So it's you can only unlock about 10 cars, but they're all cars that are featured in the Furious 7 movies. So they're all really cool. So I'm happy to play that. And, it spits out achievements left and right. Like, I've only played a couple hours and I've already got most of the achievements.
Nice. I remember seeing a few commercials for it, and it had this dude with a beard who said he's been working on all the Fast and Furious movies as the guy in charge of the cars or what have you, and he played the game, and it's like, it's insane how much it drives just like those cars and all the attention to detail. So that's really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it being free, it's great. It's a really smart tie-in that I don't hate actively, like I usually do with tie-ins like this.
Nice.
And I did actually watch that movie.
We have to do. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm going to be dragging my wife to go see it with me, so we're going to see it soon. We need to do another Fast and Furious lore.
Oh man,
remember that episode?
Oh man, I guess I won't discuss the movie too much for you, but watching it about halfway through the movie, I kind of realized something, Malcolm, that there are a lot of there's a lot of surprising parallels between the Fast and Furious franchise and Metal Gear Solid, for me at least. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I was like, wait a minute.
I thought you were going to say Avengers for a second there.
No, I was like, these things have a really similar arc, where
I
don't want to get
with Mr. Nobody.
I don't want to get into details for the sake of Furious 7 spoilers. I think just came out a couple days ago. But I guess let me point these broad strokes for here.
Okay.
Both of these franchises start with fun but primitive entries. Metal Gear 1 and 2 on the MSX or whatever, and then the first 3 movies, kind of laying the groundwork, but they don't age super well, if you know what I mean. And they get very convoluted along the way, right? And they both kind of introduce all these prequels to start clarifying and filling in a lot of the gaps. You've got the big boss games for Metal Gear Solid, and then you got Fast and Furious 4 through 6. That all take place between Too Fast, Too Furious and Tokyo Drift. And you start filling all the gaps, and you're like, this all actually makes sense. And then there's this big-ass blow-off movie, which is, Furious 7, and then the big-ass blow-off at the end of the chronological timeline, which is Metal Gear Solid 4. It's got all these unbelievable set-piece moments that are completely unbelievable, like completely unrealistic things that happen in both things, but the characters are surprisingly grounded. Like these characters are, like, despite the fact that, all this unrealistic shit is happening around them, like, they feel, aside from being street racers that become, like, Black Ops operatives, basically, they're still surprisingly grounded people. Like, they're realistic people.
So, here, I did hear there was, like, one jarring moment in the movie, which isn't really a spoiler, so I'll talk to you with it. The main character from Tokyo Drift. I
forget what his name is, but the Texan dude or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
The white guy. Yeah, the guy, not Paul Paul Walker, white guy from the franchise. Yeah, like you see like a flashback from Tokyo Drift with him in it, and then now chronologically, this all Tokyo Drift takes place just before 7, I guess.
Yeah, so the chronological order of these movies is the first Fast and Furious, Too Fast, Too Furious, and then the fourth through the sixth movie all take place between then Tokyo Drift, and then Furious 7.
Yeah, I remember, and this was back when I started getting into it. It was around the fifth one, and I had a friend from work saying, "No, Tokyo Drift is not actually the third movie." I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, like I said, it's all very convoluted. So they're like, okay, wait, we got to pause here and clarify some of this shit.
Yeah,
and that's pretty much exactly what Metal Gear Solid did. Where it's like, after Metal Gear Solid 2, it's like this is like you got the lolly lule lo and all this shit. You got the freaking Patriots which are suddenly computers. You're like, what's going on? So like, all right, we got to go back 40 years to Big Boss and start clarifying some of this shit that happened.
Yeah, but the thing that I was going to mention is, that character, the country guy. Hey, you see him from Tokyo Drift, and then he makes like, I guess, a cameo in this one, and he's very clearly aged several years.
Yeah, because that movie came out like in 2004 or something.
Yeah, and they didn't even try to cover it up at all.
No, but it's funny too because I mean, I remember when like the fourth movie came out and like Han is in it, even though he you got blown up at the end of 3. What's going on here? And then by the time Furious 5 comes out, they're like, I can't believe they're actually they're cleaning this shit up. This is unbelievable. I can't believe they're paying this much attention to the story.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
But
yeah, he says like, I got to get back to Japan. I have some stuff to do in Japan.
Yeah, it's like, whoops, you probably shouldn't do that.
It's like they hired him for Tokyo Drift, blew him up, and the writers afterwards, you know who was a cool character? Han.
Basically, they're like I can't believe you blew up Han after one movie, you idiots.
It's a shame we can't use him for more movies, dude. Prequels.
I've got an idea. We're gonna do The Rock.
Oh God, The Rock.
So great. Like, oh man, yeah, it's the parallels are surprising, but definitely there. So great.
So I'm definitely gonna go see that.
Great movies. A lot of real dumb fun. And then you'll cry a lot at the end.
And that's fine. It's just dumb fun. Like people are like, oh, it's like I should be comparing it to Academy Award movies, dude. You, at the end of the day,
well, Vin Diesel says that this is definitely going to win Best Picture this year.
I hear it's an event in cinema.
It's definitely that.
I definitely think I definitely when I go to the movies, I go there for a good time, and that's why I look forward to the Fast and Furious movies and the Marvel movies for that matter.
Yeah, it's a great time for sure. Man, you should probably bring some tissue though. It's real.
I've heard things about the scene at the end or the ending.
It gets real dust.
I've been playing as well as Bloodborne, which I've been playing a lot of. I've been playing another game that came out recently, I guess. Have you heard of this app game called Final Fantasy Record Keeper?
I have trouble keeping track of all the terrible free-to-play Final Fantasy stuff on mobile.
What? Okay, well, number one, this is actually by Square Enix, so it's all right.
That's what I mean. They've made some pretty terrible Final Fantasy games on mobile.
Really? Like what?
There's this one game that's literally just tap, 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 tap. It's some game that features like all the protagonists from all the games, but it's literally just tap and see what happens.
Well, Record Keeper, the story is pretty silly. You run this like museum with Moogle, and one day this evil force starts erasing all the records, which the records, by the way, are Final Fantasies 1 through 10.
Okay.
And you have to like enter another dimension that's within the paintings and free them from these monsters in order to keep the records alive. And during the way, you'll team up with and collect other characters from all the other Final Fantasies, level them up, get items and what have you. And I've been playing that, like not playing that since yesterday, since it was a pretty slow day at work yesterday. And I've really enjoyed it. Something I thought was really cool for the character, it's all in 8-bit, so Final Fantasy characters 7 through 10, you get to see these 8-bit sprites of them, which is actually pretty cool. And it's got like all the moves, like when you enter a painting for like say 10, the background music is from 10, the menu music is from 10, the boss music is from 10, all the sound effect and slashes are from 10. By going to 7, likewise, except everything is for 7, and it's pretty cool. Here now, if you don't like Final Fantasy, that's fine. But the complaint that I'm getting sick of hearing about it's a free app, okay? And people,
I know it's good.
Yeah, so they download it, they turn it on, they enter a file, and like, what the hell's up with these graphics? Hell with this, and they uninstall it. It's a free app. You're not going to get Final Fantasy 15 for free on your phone, man. That is like the most unreal. Because if they did, they'd have to charge you, and then you're not getting it either. So I don't get what the.
Well, I just don't care for Square Enix's mobile offerings because when they do charge, they charge an outrageous amount. Like, would you like to play Final Fantasy IV on your iPhone? It's like, yeah, sure. That'll be $15.99. Okay, never mind.
Well, it's a free experience. It's actually made by that same group that's bringing Nintendo games to mobile at some point. DNA or Dana or Deny.
Dima or something? Or Dina, Dama, Dima.
Yeah, it's like DENA, and except the E is lowercase while everything else is uppercase. So they did it. I think they did a fine job with it. It's a fine nostalgia trip at least, and I'm currently trying to unlock Sephiroth to play him. So
I'd rather just play Theater Rhythm, which offers the same nostalgia.
See, that's fine, Joe. You're not you're not like passing it because it's 8-bit, which is how it's supposed to look. God damn it, Jesus. But anyway, that's what I've been playing. Let's see. Well, aside from the movie, anything else you wanted to bring up today?
No.
All right, I will tell everyone. This will be the only wrestling talk that I'll say, but we recorded a new episode of Slam University or Slam U.
Available now.
Oh yeah, available now. We talk about Sting and how happy he is to be holding a trophy in that picture. But it was a fun conversation, and we have actually been hearing really good things. My buddy Brian and a friend of yours think our stuff is hysterical.
Yeah,
pat on the back to us there. Our friends think we're awesome.
But yeah, feel free to get a listen for history lesson on everybody's favorite surfing buffoon.
Oh god. Yeah, if he does come back, I hope he comes back as Surfer Sting.
That'd be great.
Let him have like a child-friendly match with John Cena, and that's how he goes out. All right, folks, we've got quite a bit to talk about this week, so let's take it to the news. All righty, Joe. It's been a long week here. What could have possibly happened this week?
Well, we have some updates on this Hideo Kojima business. I guess to segue from all that Fast and the Furious talk and Metal Gear Solid similarity stuff.
You want to make Zone of Enders 3?
Which ties into Furious 8.
There you go. I tell you, it's going to be, I give it Fast and Furious 15 when the cars just merge to form Menosaur or something like that.
That'd be so great. Anyway, yeah, we're talking about what all this Hideo Kojima possibly leaving, Konami news meant for Silent Hills. You'll be happy to know, Malcolm, that the Kojima Productions logo has been pulled from the Silent Hills website.
Oh, great.
Konami's kind of just, they're still not saying exactly what's up with Kojima's employment over there, but, they kind of just delivered the same line they've been delivering for a couple of weeks where it's like, we're just kind of integrating everything under the Konami umbrella. No comment beyond that. And that's pretty much all they've offered. They've said, as we have already announced, we're shifting our production structure to a headquarters-controlled system in order to establish a steadfast operating base capable of responding to the rapid market changes that surround our digital entertainment business. Konami Digital Entertainment, including Mr. Kojima, will continue to develop and support Metal Gear products. Please look forward to future announcement. So that's what they had to say about Silent Hills. Is they're like, he's definitely still doing Metal Gear. It's like, okay, that's not super helpful.
God damn it, that does nothing.
Exactly. So, that's one thing. Also, they seem to be reinserting the Hideo Kojima game line on a couple of different things. They've reinserted it on Metal Gear Solid Legacy Collection, and they've reinserted it on Metal Gear Solid 3D Snake Eater, the 3DS port for 3. So there you go. That's your Hideo Kojima employment news. What do you got to say to that?
I'm not happy about it. Like I said, I was looking forward to Silent Hills. I thought it was going to be. I loved PT. I loved that demo. I was looking forward to more of it, but Hideo's not doing it anymore. Oh. By the way, this brings up an interesting point that I heard on Beyond the other. Is Guillermo? Okay, I'm going to mispronounce his name, so help me out, Joe. Guillermo del Toro cursed.
Maybe. Like, I remember they announced the
Insanity.
Or Insane or something. Yeah. Like 3 years, they announced it like in 2010 or something for 2013, and then they just canceled it sometime in 2012 or early 2013. I forget.
Yeah, like I remember seeing it at a video game awards show, and no gameplay footage, of course, and then that's it. It's just nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm not happy about this. I mean, freaking A! It looked like such a good game, and now, Konami, what did you do?
I don't know what's going on with Konami. Yeah, I mean, like I said before, when all this started coming out, Konami seems to be run by a pile of idiots or something. I don't know. Like their business model just makes no sense anymore. Like they're basically nuking all of their most beloved franchises one by one.
Like the funniest meme I've seen out of this, somebody created like a screenshot from a PowerPoint presentation and it said Konami business model, and it was just like 4 points. The first one was fuck Hideo Kojima, fuck Metal Gear. Third point was fuck Silent Hills, and the last point was fuck the fans.
I think mine. I can make something a little easy. You just take a picture of a dumpster on fire, and there you go. That's their business model.
Oh man, I don't know, man. I mean, seriously, there's not much more I could say about it. You know, the game isn't going to be what it could have been. Which it's not to say it still couldn't be good. Maybe they get somebody else to take it over.
Yeah.
But I don't know who it could be. I mean, you already. This is literally the worst thing you could do. It was like, hating to use wrestling here, folks, but WrestleMania 8. Remember when the main event was Flair versus Hogan?
Oh yeah.
And then it was like, no, never mind. Here's Sid versus Hogan. Well, that's not the same thing at all.
Ric Flair with Macho Man.
Which was good, but still, yeah.
Yeah, maybe Silent Hills will come out. Well, maybe Silent Hills will still come out without Kojima, and it'll still be good, but still.
Alrighty, Joe. So what else happened this week?
Let's see here. PlayStation Home. Remember that old thing?
Yeah, it feels like we've recorded that it's closed like 3 times on this show.
And now we've reported that it was closing at some point in the future, but it is finally closed for good, Mount.
All right, so it's official now.
It is officially done. March 31st, 2015 was its last day, and it is gone into that good night.
I would have more to say on this subject if I ever used it. Like
I know, I tried using it a couple of times a long time ago. Certainly when it first came out, because it was this thing that was that Sony had hyped up as this game changing thing that if I remember correctly was supposed to replace the cross media bar. According to Sony, they're like, yeah, you'll go into, instead of launching games from the XMB, you'll go into home and you'll hook up with your friends in your cool apartment and you'll launch your game from there, and you'll all be in the same party and it's gonna be super fun. You're all gonna have fun playing Warhawk. It's gonna be super great. And it just never really worked that way. It just didn't take off because those are like 8 different unnecessary steps to launching your game when you could just go straight to the XMB and launch a game instantly. They're like, no, go load up home and go into your apartment and find your friends. And like, these are 8 different steps that take like 10 minutes. Like, just let me play Warhawk.
Could this have worked if this feels like they wanted it to be like virtual reality? Like instead, like if I remember correctly, you created an avatar and you're like walking around in the mall.
Yeah, like they like at first it was kind of just your apartment, and you would go between apartments, your friends' apartments or whatever, and you gussy them up with different things that you can download and buy. And then they kind of expanded towards a bunch of different things. Like you could play games in there, you could go into a theater to stream a certain event, which I think was the last time I went because there was no other way to stream Evil on your PS3 except from home. And I went and checked it out, and it was just a lag-filled nightmare. So I just watched it on my computer instead.
See, from the brief times I did use it, that's what I remember about it. It being lag-filled, took forever to go from one spot to another. Like I remember I was leaving my apartment to go to the mall, and I was like waiting like what felt like 10 minutes. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'll just pop in a game. Jesus.
Yeah, it's terrible. And one of the other times I went was when they were like giving away free PS1 games or something. And I got like Siphon Filter and Destruction Derby or some nonsense. I was like, sure, I guess I'll have that. But yeah, like I mean, there were some people that used it with some regularity. I'd imagine for it to have stuck around as long as it did. So it sucks for them if they did use that thing regularly. That's never fun to see your thing go away. But by and large, it went ignored by the PlayStation community. So there you go. R.I.P. PlayStation Home.
Never forget your homes. Alrighty. So what else happened this week?
Let's see. IGN reporting that Sony has acquired cloud gaming service OnLive. I don't know if you remember OnLive, the competitor to Gaikai. Apparently, they've acquired a lot of the technology patents behind OnLive. The terms under which a deal was made have not been shared, but Sony now owns several of their assets, including its U.S. and international portfolio patents on cloud gaming. Let's see. It will remain active until April 30th, and no subscription renewals will be charged as of April 2nd. OnLive adds that those who are charged for their subscription after March 28th will be issued refunds. But basically, they'll be shutting that thing down very soon, and I guess they'll just be integrating that technology into PlayStation Now, I imagine.
Yeah, I'd have to think so. Just to it'll give it more better signal strength, right?
Yeah, I guess. I'm not totally sure, to be honest, but that's good news if you've been using PlayStation Now.
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird. Like essentially they bought it and.
Basically, I think they bought Gaikai and they kind of just used all that stuff to beef up their PlayStation Now stuff.
Alrighty, so what else happened this week?
All right, if you bought a PlayStation Vita before June of 2012, you can finally start claiming some of that free stuff that we talked about a few weeks ago. I forget when exactly we brought this up initially, but
it's a while ago.
Yeah, but the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission here in the U.S., is I guess finally making Sony pay out what they owe people for, I guess, what was it, false advertising on the remote play stuff, where they kind of said that, yeah, remote play with your PS3, and it's like very few games on PS3 support remote play with the Vita.
Yeah, it didn't work at all, to be frank.
Yeah. So I guess they're making Sony pay for that little faux pas.
Literally.
The story here that I pulled up that Malcolm provided me is on Kotaku, and they have all the details. It's a very detailed thing that there's a lot of details that would take forever for us to convey here on the podcast, but I recommend heading over to Kotaku, or by the time this goes up, maybe other outlets will have picked up on it, and you can find those details there as well. But yeah, if you followed all the steps necessary for being eligible for this thing, you should be able to claim your things now, which include either $25 cash as a check or $25 PSN credit, or one of 3 different game bundles that I guess which according to Sony are valued at more than $50 each. Mm-hmm. So there you go.
Yeah, if you were okay, let me start over again. I got an email from them this morning. Essentially, they're gonna send you a email in the mail, just letting you know just where they are, and it'll explain to click on the link. They'll want to know, if you still have the thing, and you can verify that you got it before then. Mm-hmm. If you got yours at launch, then you're in clear, and just provide a serial number or some other serial number, and then you can take your pick between $25 check, $25 PSN, or one of their nifty bundles, which if you go to the Kotaku article, it lists all the bundles there.
They're not great bundles.
No, they're not great. I'd recommend just $25 in PSN credit.
Yeah, because unless you really insist on playing PS3 games still, there's not much there for you.
No. All right. So what do you think about this, Joe? Is this great or is this fair?
Yeah, I mean, if you make false claims to sell your product, you should absolutely be held accountable for it, and that's what's happening here. The U.S. government doing an actual good thing. So there you go. Right on. It's kind of funny that the value proposition takes such a leap. $25 in cash basically, or these bundles that are valued at over $50. It's like well, that value is whatever you want it to be. That doesn't really.
I'm guessing they hope you take the game in this case.
Yeah. I mean, there are good games in there, but they're old games.
If there were any PS4 games in there, maybe. But
oh yeah, it's like you want to play 2013's Twisted Metal? It's like not really, no. Do you want to play Mod Nation Racers Road Trip on Vita? No, under no circumstance.
How many times is that going to be a freebie for this?
Every single time it's happened.
They should just change the game to legal team freebie or something like that.
I like how the family-friendly bundle includes Uncharted Golden Abyss. It's like, you shoot a lot of dudes in that game, but whatever.
Yeah, there's mass murder in that game, man.
You kill no fewer than 800 people in that.
Way to go, Timmy. Oh, man. All right. So get your $25 on, folks, and use it whatever you want to. All right. What else is next?
All right. If you are looking forward to Batman Arkham Knight, got some exciting news here, especially if you haven't bought a PS4 yet, as they've announced a limited edition console or two limited edition bundles, or two bundles. One is a limited edition that includes a silver, or what are they calling it? They're calling it, what's the color exactly? They're calling it
is it like kind of a chrome color? Or?
Yeah, kind of a chrome color, but it's real nice. It's emblazoned with a cool Batman silhouette on the faceplate. And it comes with this shiny gray controller. Pretty nice. And that will steel gray is what they're calling it. There you go. And that'll be available for $449. And it of course includes the game as well. Yeah, it looks pretty sweet. On top of this, if you just want a regular PS4 and want to save $50, you can get another bundle that includes the game with a regular black PS4. Otherwise identical bundles. You just pay a $50 premium for the fancy paint on the console and controller. But neato.
I'm kind of shocked this game got a bundle.
How do you figure that?
Well, I figured if you're gonna go through the trouble of like doing a repaint PS4, which really just released like multicolored PS4 at this point. Come on, this is like their fourth one now. I thought it would have been with an exclusive title or something. So, not saying that this isn't a good move. I mean, Batman Arkham Knight is gonna sell like hotcakes.
Yeah, I mean, Batman is literally the world's most popular superhero.
Mm-hmm. More than Spider-Man?
Oh yeah, like I've seen interviews over the course of several years where even executives at Marvel, when they talk about like their sales of their comics, they talk about how they compare okay, how are we doing against Batman? Because Batman is that's the one. Like Batman has like 5 comic books in any given month that release, and they all do super well.
Yeah, I heard. I heard you say that. I just didn't know how it's like. I assume Marvel's most popular is Spider-Man.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've always been kind of curious which one is the more popular of the two. I guess it would make sense it was Batman. And though they like when you think of rogues galleries, I would say Batman and Spider-Man's are like the most popular out of both of them.
Yeah, and that's why they're the best-selling books for their respective publishers. I figure.
Oh, one of the big reasons. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, it looks nice. I hope they put the controller on sale by itself.
Yeah, I would buy that controller for sure.
Indeed. So, I mean, yeah, unfortunately, once again, I have PlayStations up to wazoo now, so.
Ooh, rich boy over here.
You
just can't stop buying PS4s over here.
Yeah, I literally have as many as you.
I sold my extra one, buddy. I bought one and sold the other.
Yeah, you bought yours for how much extra? Your 20th anniversary edition, Jesus Christ.
Still paid less overall than you did.
Uh-huh. No, that's not true.
Oh, I bought one system for the regular price. I bought another for an extra $100, and then I sold the other one to help pay off the other one.
I got one of them for the same price, for nothing technically, because I used all my prize winnings from work. So I didn't actually spend 1 red cent on my PlayStation, or my first PlayStation 4, I should say.
Whatever you say.
Yeah.
Whatever you got to tell yourself.
We both bought 2 PlayStations. But anyway, it is a cool looking PlayStation. If you're one of the few who haven't picked up a PS4 yet, then there you go.
Yep.
All right, moving on. What else happened this week?
Let's see. It seems that according to, or judging by the some of the materials that Activision has been sending to the press, it seems that they're just about set to announce their new Guitar Hero game. Apparently, let's see, I'm getting this report from Polygon specifically. They got an invite to something called the Sound Dial Festival, which is fictional, and features fictitious bands such as Broken Tide, Blackout Conspiracy, Our Pasts Collide, and others. It doesn't include details about the event's date or venue, except that other outlets have apparently received similar invites to, quote, a new game reveal event on April 14th. Yeah, and then apparently there are people have seen different resumes, I guess, of people that that have worked on something perhaps related to Guitar Hero. Like one dancer listed what's called a quote sundial interactive music video shoot, saying that her job was related to Guitar Hero for PS4. So with all these things kind of lining up, it seems that we're going to hear about a new Guitar Hero game on the 14th, so in about 10 days.
Now, how do you feel? Like, I know you're excited about Rock Band, Joe, but how do you feel about Guitar Hero coming back too?
I really like Guitar Hero as well, so if you want to get all these games back out, I'm all for it. Let's see.
Because keep in mind, Guitar Hero was the franchise that murdered that genre for like 7 years.
Sure. So long as they don't start releasing, 8 at a time every year, I'm fine with a new Guitar Hero alongside a new Rock Band.
Do you think they've learned their lesson? That like, okay, no more 8 at a time, just one.
I fucking hope so, because they literally choked the genre to death with all that stuff. Like that was like individually, all that stuff was good, but it all fucking came out at the exact same time. So it's like that's just not how to do it. You got to space it out. But let's see. Apparently, the rumor being that the game is being developed by Freestyle Games, who made DJ Hero, which was an excellent game.
Yeah, very underappreciated.
Yeah. So if they're indeed the ones doing it, I'm very excited for it for sure.
All right. What else happened this week?
Let's see. We've got, speaking of new game announcements here, remember Assassin's Creed Chronicles China that was exclusive to the season pass for Assassin's Creed Unity? Mm-hmm. Apparently, that's only one part of a trilogy. Apparently, they'll be exploring a different locale with each of these Assassin's Creed Chronicles games. The first Chronicle, of course, will be taking place in China, as previously announced. But on top of that, there'll be one set in Russia and India, detailing the aftermath of the Red October Revolution and the warring Sikh Empire, respectively. The Assassin's Creed Chronicles China will release for PS4, Xbox One, and PC on April 21st in North and South America, followed by release in Europe a day later. The remaining 2 installments, titled Assassin's Creed Chronicles India and Assassin's Creed Chronicles Russia, will release as separate entries sometime in the future. Each Chronicle will be priced at $10, and those with the Assassin's Creed Unity Season Pass will be able to download China at no extra cost. Of course, apparently, on top of being in different locales, apparently they'll feature their own distinct art style as well. So that's interesting. What do you think?
It's an interesting. I like the concept of going to India, China, Russia, and all those. If the game wasn't as buggy as I remember, I mean, I've been hesitant to buy Unity just for that reason. But I like the concept of it. I like the idea of globetrotting.
Yeah, I mean, these are very different games than the usual 3D game. This is a 2.5D game.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, 3D graphics in a 2D environment. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting what those games are like.
So it's like Double Dragon?
I mean, whatever 2D game you want to apply to it, Super Mario Brothers or Double Dragon or freaking, I don't know, whatever. Okay. You're Ninja Gaiden, I don't know. Shinobi.
Do I need to have
Actually, Shinobi might be pretty accurate, depending.
I always dug Shinobi back in the day. Am I going to need the disc to play these, or can I just download the DLC?
I think you'll be able to play them standalone, I'd imagine. Mm-hmm. But like we've said before, if you have the Assassin's Creed Unity Season Pass, you'll be able to get China for no extra cost, and they'll all be $10 separately anyway.
All right, I'll have to give it a look-see one of these days then.
Yeah.
All right, just as long as everyone has their picks and all that. All right, what else happened next?
Let's see. Sony has revealed the free Instant Game Collection games coming to PlayStation Plus in April. I don't know where October came from. April 2015. Let's see. On PlayStation 4, there's a lot of crossover platforms, as there usually is, as some of these games are cross-buy. So we'll just say the game platform. Tower of Guns is coming to PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 3 as a free game when that game launches on April 7th. Mm-hmm. Never Alone on PS4. That game launched a little while ago. I don't know if you remember it at all, but that'll be available. Dishonored, which apparently was supposed to be one of the games last month, is finally coming this month as on PS3 for PlayStation Plus. Pretty excited for that. Never played it. Here's a game I've never heard of. Aru's Awakening on PS3 and PS4.
Never heard of it either.
Never heard of it, but apparently it's a gorgeous platformer about navigating treacherous terrain with well-timed teleports. That'll be available on PS3 and PS4. Killzone Mercenary on Vita. That's a pretty good one. And a game I talked about last week, apparently is going to be free. Monster Bag on Vita. That game where you play as a little monster trying to return to its owner. And yeah, that's it. There you go.
Nice.
Pretty,
I like
yeah,
it.
pretty nice.
Definitely picking up Killzone Mercenary. That game I heard really good things about. I was saving for the PS4 at the time, so.
Yeah, I bought it when it came out. I don't remember if I beat it, to be honest, but what I played was pretty good. Never tried the multiplayer though.
I wonder if anyone's still on it.
Probably. There's always, although I don't know. I'm not sure, but there's probably a couple hundred people.
Well, only one way to find out, Joe.
Yeah, that's right.
Alrighty. What else happened this week?
Let's see. Gematsu apparently is reporting, or I guess they translated from something. Gematsu's pretty good for translating Japanese interviews, but apparently Famitsu this week has a new interview with Final Fantasy 15 director Hajime Tabata, who teases that female guest characters might join Final Fantasy 15's all-male party. The director also discusses reception to the Final Fantasy 15 demo released with early copies of Type 0 HD earlier this month. Quotes below, let's see. One of the questions, how about female characters in the party? He says, quote, it's possible we'll have female characters join the party as guests, but since it's an all-male party, when you have a female character as a guest, their behavior might change because a woman is around. Okay. Whatever you say. There were many requests to improve the battle system. There's another question. He says, quote, the battle system from the demo is about 50% complete. I want to level-headedly respond to requests for improvement. The full retail version will have things like magic and co-op chains, which I feel will really freshen up how players approach combat. Because Ramu has special specifications in the demo, there will be systematic improvements in the full release. Ramu being the summon that you can find. Let's see. Outside of the interview, Famitsu also conducted Final Fantasy 15 player satisfaction survey. According to its results, more than 70% of players were either satisfied or very satisfied, while about 20% were dissatisfied to somewhat dissatisfied. There you go.
Well, like we said, I totally loved and dug the demo. I'm okay with the all male cast, and I guess I understand why you're still not comprehending what they mean when they say they're gonna act differently when a woman be like.
Yeah, it's like they're still. Like women aren't alien. You know? It's like they're still people. You can figure out how to behave around the world.
Well, you can, or you can't. It depends on the character. Like the blonde character, if there's like a woman that he finds attractive in the group, I could see him like constantly hitting on her on the way over. Or if they're all friends, such as the way you brought up, then yeah, they'll act, just the same, I guess. But it depends on the character, I guess, which depends on their personality and their relationship to said character.
As for the battle system, the only problem I had with the battle or the combat in the demo is that if the terrain is uneven, you'll find yourself just swiping over enemies or under enemies, just flailing around, and that can get kind of annoying, like in the cave or in the woods.
Well, I found that, when you're using the warp attacks, it helps out tremendously.
Yeah, but you can only use it so many times before your MP is drained.
Yeah, but, that's what you have to do.
Yeah, but it's so annoying you're just swiping over a goblin and he's like poisoning you. You're like, I can't even hit him.
Well, you have to get the lower ground, It's like the opposite of real fighting where you want the higher ground.
And the camera is pretty annoying sometimes.
Well, once again, it's a demo. I mean, with the faster enemies, I can understand how you feel, as I got actually a little dizzy here and there just trying to follow these wolves just running circles around me.
Yeah, like in the cave where you find that summon, it's the lighting, like it's realistic lighting, but it's also very hard to see. So on top of the camera being weird and in the uneven ground, it can get real bad in there if you don't have the right items or whatever.
But yeah, I think people are going to be surprised. I think they're going to see, like I said, I think this is going to be really interesting, and it's going to show, depending on how the characters act each time. Like, I don't think it's going to be a case of where if there's a female there, like, no one's going to help her or something like that. I mean,
well, no.
That'd be terrible.
That would be a weird. Now that would be a red flag. Like, what do you?
You find out that you've been playing the bad guy the whole time, and wait, these are gamer gators. No.
It'd be like the worst version of Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic. Like, what? Oh no, I've been the monster this entire time.
Or like maybe I think it could be really cool from a story's perspective. Like say the blonde, you have like a female character, and the blonde one like falls for her, and all of a sudden he every time they're in a fight, he like is around her her and is protecting her more, or if she gets attacked, he'll like dive in front of enemies to take the damage or something. So you could actually use the combat to further tell the story. I mean, it could be pretty cool. Like, now I could be overhyping it too, folks.
Yeah, you're definitely giving them probably too much credit.
It's gonna take gaming to a new level.
Probably not.
Please be excited for release. Oh man! Hey, can I ask you a off-topic question really quick?
Positively not.
Oh, come on.
What is it?
How do you feel about Zelda being delayed?
Well, that's a blow for sure.
Sucks. I mean, I got the Wii U just for that game, and they're like, "Yeah, forget it." No.
But that's nothing to do with as far as these Zelda games are concerned. But but I mean, they've got other stuff coming out, presumably this year, to help fill that gap.
Yeah, Splatoon. Yeah,
Splatoon looks awesome. It sounds awesome. Like all the previews over the past month or so have been like super positive. On top of just looking really fun.
It looks awesome, but it's just not Zelda is the thing. And that's the unfair comparison.
It's not Zelda, but it's also a unique thing that people tend to clamor for. Like, oh, they only do Zelda and Mario. It's like, well, here's fucking Splatoon. You can either buy it or shut the fuck up.
that everyman character voice you just pulled out, you need to use it more, dude.
It's like, all right, here's your time to put up or shut up, because this game looks awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very... I like it. It's a good spin on the third-person shooter type of game. So I think it'll be surprise. Is it on 3DS as well as Wii U?
Splatoon? Probably not. I don't. No, it's not.
Okay, because I think that could have worked well. And plus, let's not forget the 2 Xenoblade games come out this year too. And even though, don't get me wrong, even though the characters look like thumbs in the Wii U version, I think it could be pretty cool.
Yeah, there's that. I forget what else. But those are tentpole releases there.
Yeah. Oh, Mario Maker. It's not as strong of a year as last year. I mean,
I'm excited for Mario Maker. That game looks great.
Oh, okay.
Because I mean, I'm excited to see what people come up with. Like I was kind of hesitant on it because I wasn't sure if they were gonna change the physics or not based on the game that you're building. Because the physics between Mario 1, Mario 3, Mario World, and the new Super Mario stuff, those are all pretty distinct. And my fear was that they'll just use one physics engine for all the games. But based on the footage that I've seen, they seem to act appropriately. So I'm more excited for it.
Yeah, it'll be a good game. I still say this year won't be as strong of a lineup as last year, but who knows? Maybe at the end of the year I'll look back and I'm like, oh, okay, I was wrong.
But either way, the Wii U is building a strong library.
Indeed, finally.
Wait, it's got a strong library now.
It's okay.
You're crazy.
It's strong library of 15 Mario games, and
which are all great. So
they're not all great.
And have you seen those plushy Yoshi amiibos? Oh my god! I might actually
from Yoshi's Yarn. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, and Yoshi's Yarn. That looks pretty great.
It looks pretty good. All right, back to PlayStation. What else? What else happened this week?
Let's see. Speaking of, what were we talking about before? We were talking about Final Fantasy. So speaking of RPGs, I guess The Witcher 3 apparently aiming to be. Has been canceled. No, quite the opposite. It's rumor, according to one of the developers, Damien Monnier, let's see, what does he do? He's a senior games designer over at CD Projekt Red on The Witcher 3. He says that if you do everything, a fan asked how long is the game, including side quests, and he said, hard to say. If you do everything, I'd say 200 plus hours, and I say, goddamn.
And then the fan followed up with, is this Skyrim too?
Man, that's probably exciting for a lot of people, but for me, it's like, man, that's gonna be overwhelming probably for me. I'm not sure how much of that is actually gonna be fun stuff to do, as opposed to just stuff for the sake of saying your game is 200 hours long. I can't imagine that it's all cool, meaningful stuff.
Well, that depends on your definition of meaningful, Joe.
Like I remember, in Dragon Age Inquisition, I played some of that, and a lot of those side quests were just, go collect these crystals or whatever, or go back these crystals. Like that. Okay, this makes the game longer, but not better.
Well, I think going by the history of Witcher, like I haven't heard anything bad about the Witcher series, and I imagine they were around, if not as long, around the same amount of side quests or what have you. I think it's going to be pretty good. Like a lot of the side quests. I think all we've seen really is terms of game footage is side quests, actually, like hunting down griffins and hunting down monsters. That that stuff looks fun, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, what I've seen of the game, including what I saw at E3, was really freaking impressive. And I'm excited to play it. The game looks great. I just hope that it's not that I just hope it's not too much filler in those 200 hours.
Yeah. So I've seen like according to what I've seen, Witcher is all about two things. One is hunting down monsters, gaining a reputation, and using them to get better stuff. And secondly is finding women and acting differently around them.
Whoa, look at you.
See, bringing it full circle. How about that? How many Square running gags do we have now? We've got Please Be Excited, now we've got acting differently.
Oh, God. The woman, oh, God, what planet is she from again?
Come on, you see it in like TV shows, like characters, male character or friends. They're fine altogether. Then they see someone new, and they're not quite themselves, at least at first.
That's a woman. Slide whistle.
It's like, okay, if you're, let's say you and me are friends. Let's pretend that, and we're
because God knows we're not.
Yeah, this is just a job, and and we are like hunting down monsters in the field. We've got this good rapport. We like fist bump, and then like this like new woman comes in, and you're like, we need to hunt monsters with her. We're probably not going to be fist bumping with her at first.
I probably wouldn't fist bump with anybody, to be honest.
Yeah, well, no, you fist bump with me, dude. Now, and we may not like be as talkative with this person at first. Maybe in time when we open up, maybe that's
you're explaining the way people behave with people regardless of whether they're man or woman. Like do you open up immediately to other dudes the same way? Are you would you be fist bumping that dude immediately?
At work, yes, because that's what you need to do to fit in. No. Okay, I'll admit that. I'll be pretty silent. I guess what I think would help Square, going back to that conversation, if they actually show what they mean. Like, yeah,
because I mean, it's just weird. Because I mean, it's weird that they come out with this weird attitude, considering that their player base is a large part of it, more than most other games out there. Is that a lot of women really love Final Fantasy.
Do you think it would have gone over better if they just said that there's no women because it takes too long to make women? An Ubisoft running gag, yeah.
Too hard.
But yeah, I think because I don't think there's a way to explain it without sounding wrong to some dimension. You know what I mean? I think they should like show footage of just the normal characters interacting, and then show footage of them with a new female character or a guest character, and then so people are like, oh, okay, because you're either going to be like me, where I'm like making the game, probably overhyping the game, to be perfectly frank, or you got Joe, where it just says, "Oh, this is completely wrong."
I just hope it's something I just hope it's something more nuanced that is difficult for him to articulate through a translator rather than, I don't know how to behave around women. I just hope it's the former, not the latter.
Yeah. What were we discussing before?
The Witcher?
Yes, The Witcher. I'm actually excited for it. I mean, it's weird to say like that's a concern. The game's too long. I mean that once again, that's only if you're doing every single side quest for it. So if you're just streamlining it, I wonder if it'll be anywhere near that long.
Yeah, and it's definitely fair for people to want to get a lot for their money. A lot of compared to obviously the game is going to be very different from something like The Order, but if you paid $60 for that and you thought it wasn't worth $60, that's fair.
Plus let's not forget, Joe, I believe this was the game we discussed a while ago where we announced, I guess, that there will be no DLC, that the studio said the game is going to be complete from day one.
Oh no, there's going to be DLC. It's all going to be free.
Oh, okay. It's free DLC. Okay.
It's not going to be like giant quests or whatever, but it'd be like like costumes and stuff. There might be like a side quest or two, but it's not gonna be like giant story chapters.
200 more monsters for 200 more hours. In the game. But yeah, I'm still looking forward to Witcher 3. It's out in May, if I'm not mistaken. Are there any other any other games coming out in May? Or
off the top of my head, I'm not sure.
Because it's going to clean up if it's by itself.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It'll be this
like before. It was like the week before they delayed it. Batman was the following following week, I think.
Yeah, the following week. But now it's got some time. It'll be you watch. It'll be 2015's Dying Light.
I wonder if that game holds on towards the Game of the Year stuff, because that game was pretty great.
Yeah. I mean, I still plan on getting it. It's who knows? Maybe with the $25 credit I'm about to get, maybe I'll use that towards a purchase of Dying Light.
Yeah. Let's see here. Witcher 3 comes out May 19th.
Oh, there you go.
So yeah, smack dab in the middle of the month. Cool. Yeah, not much coming out in May. You got Wolfenstein: The Old Blood on May 5th before, and after the biggest game that I see, it's the Splatoon on May 29th, and Project Cars TBA sometime in May. So those are the two games, I guess, that are on that level of high profile.
Yeah, I think I don't see that hurting it too much. I mean, Project Cars could be amazing. You're excited for that game, right?
Yeah, I mean, very different game though. So
yeah.
The audiences don't necessarily overlap for that.
I'll make it simple. Are you gonna get Witcher 3?
Yeah, probably. Let's wait.
Yeah, I've already put some money down on a pre-order at GameStop for it, so yeah. Alrighty. So what's next?
Let's see here. Respawn is teasing Titanfall 2 some more. In a video podcast interview, the XL podcast, community manager Abby Heppy spoke briefly about the new project. Even though the game still isn't officially announced, they asked her about it. She said, quote, "The really nice thing about working on a sequel is we have established the core of what Titanfall is. We have assets, we have an engine, we have all of these things that we laid the foundation for in the first game that now we can really build off of in the second. So I think there's going to be a lot of stuff that people are going to be excited about, and that's all I can say." But, continuing on, they asked her about the possibility for the next Titanfall game to have a traditional campaign mode and more variety in weapons, to which she said, quote, "We've definitely heard the feedback." So there you go.
It's disconcerting when I hear that.
What?
That we've heard the feedback. Because she's not saying don't worry or, yeah, there'll be a campaign. It's just that, yeah, we've heard the feedback.
Well, maybe, but I mean, I figure they're waiting on releasing a lot of this information when they officially announce the game. Which they've said a lot of things about the game, but not actually officially announced it. Like maybe it's not going to be called Titanfall 2. Maybe it'll just be Titanfall subtitle or whatever. And then they'll probably have like a cover on Game Informer where they'll be like, "Yeah, here's our campaign mode, and here are all the weapons, and here's this and that," on top of all the shit that you would expect out of the sequel. So I'm a little less cautious.
All right. Well, I'm excited to be able to play it. Obviously I missed the first one because I don't have an Xbox One. Obviously this deal was made before either system got released, I think. And back then with 360, having the lead that it did over the PS4, I don't entirely blaming them for thinking that Xbox was the way to go. Until like everything went down when it did, and they're like, "Oh man." So I think for this game, it's great that it's on both systems, and it's going to do really well this time. And I think from what I'm really going to be optimistic with it, that this is going to be like their Assassin's Creed 2, where they like, all right, this is what people didn't like, so now we're going to make the better game right here. So awesome. Do you have what do you got to say as far as this there, Joe?
No, nothing more. That's pretty much it.
Alrighty, right on. Alright, what else happened this week?
Let's see here. A Destiny designer has left Bungie and jump shipped over to Bethesda. The man is Josh Hamrick. His position at Bungie was senior gameplay designer. He's now over at Bethesda as a senior systems designer. It's interesting because he worked on Bungie, which was I guess one of those things that was well designed if it wasn't super interesting. But the design was solid, I guess.
Yeah. We've often said the best thing about Destiny is like just the gameplay and the design of it.
It's like a Toyota Camry. It's like, yeah, this is very well built. It's not very exciting, but there you go. It's a solid thing. Get you point A to point B. But yeah, this is besides that, maybe Bethesda gearing up for the first time over at E3. They'll have their own press conference where one assumes that they would announce something like Fallout 4.
We've been assuming that for a few years now, Joe.
Yeah, but now they've got this E3 conference for the first time, where one assumes that they'll just filled to the brim with announcements.
Mm.
Maybe a new Dishonored game as well, things like that.
Hopefully, I mean, it would be the perfect time.
Yeah.
So
one assumes that Bungie is filling the ranks to work on stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And I'd be really excited for it just to see what Fallout 4 or like a game like that would look like on PS4. So
yeah.
Well, here's hoping. And do you see this hurting Bungie at all?
No, I mean Bungie, a top studio with a lot of talent already there, and as a top tier studio, they also attract a lot of top tier talent from other places. So I think they'll be.
Alrighty. All right. What's the next story?
Let's see here. Bloodborne. Some Bloodborne news here for you, Malcolm.
Yay.
That soundtrack will be getting a separate release on April 21st. Currently, the collector's edition is the only way to get the full soundtrack to the game. But you'll be able to get it for $10 over on something else. I guess is something.com, SUM thing.com.
Oh, okay. I thought you just didn't have it or something.
No, some as in some when you add things, SUM thing.com / Bloodborne basically is, and you can pre-order the whole soundtrack now, or you can buy individual tracks for $1 each, or pre-order individual tracks. I think the only way you can buy the soundtrack now on PSN, if you didn't get the collector's edition, is some weird little sampler version or something for like $3 or something. I don't know. But yeah, there you go.
Sweet.
People have been having fun with Bloodborne, it seems, Malcolm.
Indeed. I can tell you one guy who's had a lot of fun so far.
Is it Malcolm Spinetti?
Yes. Do you have any other Bloodborne news in there this week?
I don't have anything specifically, but I've heard some things. Like there have been some speed runs of the game already from like both of them under like 45 minutes.
Freaking IGN.
Like I saw some dude beat the game with the weakest class and didn't level up even once.
That's the first legit speed run that I've seen. But yeah, like IGN first, hey, somebody did it. Somebody beat the game in 45 minutes. He cheated wicked hard, used an item duplication mod and but he beat it in 45 minutes. I'm like, oh, that's not really impressive, dude.
Well, still kind of is. I mean, it's like when you say you can beat Ocarina of Time in like 15 minutes by glitching through a bunch of walls and shit. It's still impressive to know all those things and how to exploit the game.
I guess, but it's not like beating it. It's tricking it more. Yeah, there was that. And there was also, we had our own loot cave in that we had an item duplication trick that you could do. Like nowadays, I don't know what people do with their time to figure out this stuff. Like to do the item duplication, like I actually tried it out. You need 2 characters. One has to have the alternate character needs to have 1 pebble and only 1 pebble in their storage. Then you switch to the other character and you put whatever item that you want a duplicate of, and it has to be a consumable item. You just put 1 in the storage, and then you go to the store, you buy as many pebbles as you want duplicates, and instead of pebbles, the extras that you buy become that item that you put in the trunk. Like, who would know to experiment for something like that, man?
Another thing that I saw kind of on that level where it's like, how would you even know to test this or try this, that I saw before recording right now was apparently if you leave the game on for 12 hours without doing anything.
The bosses get stupid.
Yeah, basically. It's like these bosses, notoriously hard throughout all these games that From Software makes, but, you leave the game on for 12 hours and suddenly all they do is do basic melee attack, like swipe, 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 like, oh, you're not going to do any of the crazy magic spells? Okay.
It's
take them down in 2 minutes and...
Like one of the bosses, which starts healing herself when you get to a certain point, doesn't heal herself. All she does is swipe and basic moves. It's very weird. Once again, who knows to do this?
It's like, yeah, I'll just what if I leave my PlayStation 4 on for 12 hours and not do anything? It's like, why would you even think to do that?
I mean, I can only assume that there are people that used to work in quality assurance, and they know to like, I wonder if I do this, this, and this, and like, do they even enjoy games at this point?
I don't know.
It's like, question. And now, unfortunately, for those people that are hearing about this mod duplication trick and want to exploit it just to get through the game, sadly, they already took care of it. Like, as soon as they heard about it, the next update that went up like 2 days ago wiped it out, so it's gone now.
Yeah.
Which annoys me, not that they took away the duplication mod or method, but the fact that their focus was on that and not the insanely long load times. I mean, friggin' A, if people want the experience, they can ignore the item duplication mod, man.
Yeah.
And it's like, the load times, I have no choice in the matter. You focus on that, goddammit. Oh, man.
And it sucks, too, because even if you get, like, a really advanced and an expensive hard drive, the solid-state drives, it still only shaves 10 seconds off of a very long load time. It's like, oh, you spend only 30 seconds instead of 45. It's like, ugh.
Man, oh, man. All right, so what else happened this week, buddy?
Let's see here. We've got some DLC news for Project Cars, which you mentioned a little earlier. Apparently, as a thank you for all the delays, I guess, for players' patience, they're going to be announcing they'll be releasing free cars as DLC over the course of, I guess, the game's release. The first of which is the Lycan Hypersport, which it's a brand new car coming out of the Middle East of all places. I've never really seen a Middle Eastern supercar, but you might know this car as you may have seen it in Furious 7 as jumping between skyscrapers in all those commercials. That car is going to be in the game. And it seems to be insanely fast. Reaches 62 miles an hour in just 2.8 seconds. Top speed of 245 miles an hour. A bunch of other high-tech stuff. So that's exciting stuff there, I think. The creative director in the game, Andy Tudor, says, "We are immensely pleased to have this awesome machine in the game. We'll have more info on the full schedule of further content." Oh, wait, no, here we go. The Lycan Hypersport represents the first of a series of free cars we'll be giving away every month as a thank you to our fans for being so patient for the launch of the game. We'll have more info on the full schedule of further content for Project Cars soon, but we hope that this is a great sneak peek of just one way in which Project Cars is going to expand into. That's nice. I like that.
Yeah, that's always cool. It would have been better if the notice had said, "All right, everyone out there, I want you to look under your chair. Everyone gets new cars." Yeah.
Like, oh shit, I've been sitting on on a Mercedes SLR all this time. I didn't know.
Yeah, it must have cost them a lot of money to sneak the keys underneath all those chairs and couches.
Like, how long have I been sitting on a Corvette Z06? Thanks, Project Cars.
By the way, easiest way for me to guarantee that you buy your game, give me a car. It's the least I can do is buy your game at that point. 10 out of 10. So yeah, so I don't know too much about Project Cars, Joe. What separates this from, like, say, a Forza or something? Or is this going to be? Do you think this will be the new Gran Turismo for PlayStation? Or?
Well, as a third-party game, no, it will not be the Gran Turismo for PlayStation, but it is a hardcore driving sim just the same. It will definitely be on PlayStation before Gran Turismo. Or on PlayStation 4.
Be on there,
but yeah, it seems to be a hardcore driving sim with just immaculate looking cars. I don't know if you've seen some of the screenshots, but the cars look just real good. So I'm very excited for it. The developer Slightly Mad Studios, who developed Need for Speed Shift and Need for Speed Shift 2, which I think are very underappreciated games, both in the Need for Speed series and just in general on PS3. So I'm excited for it.
Oh, very good. Very good. All right. What else has happened this week?
Let's see. We've got this. Okay. Let's see. We've got a couple of game release date announcements here for a game called. First, we have a game called Operation Abyss, which hits PlayStation Vita on June 9th, coming from NIS America. The PlayStation blog post kind of goes out of its way to say, hey, if you liked Demon Gazed a little while ago, it's basically a lot like that in terms of gameplay, dungeon crawling stuff. The difference being the setting. You're not in the woods or anything. You're in New Tokyo. So basically, you go from a Robin Hood type thing to a Neo Tokyo Super Future thing. But the gameplay sounds similar. So if you like that game, if you like what's it called, Demon Gaze, it seems you'll like Operation Abyss. That'll be out on June 9th on Vita.
So one thing about Project Cars, though, going back.
Okay.
Is that seriously the title for it, or are they still working on
it? No, it seems to be it. That game's out in a matter of weeks, but at this point, like it's not when they announced it, it sounded like a code name for it, but they seem to be sticking with it.
Yeah, because like when Project Beast was announced, they changed that to Bloodborne, and then you got Project Spark on Microsoft, and now Operation Abyss, which I assume is different, but still, it's weird. It sounds like the project name for the game is now just the name of the game now. Right?
Yeah.
All right. So what do you think of this game here, Joe? Operation Abyss.
Well, I never played Demon Gaze, but I mean, it sounds like if you enjoyed that, you're gonna enjoy this. People like those NIS games, and NIS, Atlas, Access, they'll do a pretty good job of localizing, games. Some more obscure Japanese RPGs. They don't do like million sellers, but they seem to be very selective of what they import. And those games do. Those games do well for their publishers.
Yeah, they were the guys who brought Demon Souls over here, after all.
Yeah. Well, not NIS. That was Atlas.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, when you said Atlas being picky.
Oh yeah.
All right, very cool.
Although then again, they published that Game of Thrones game, so that wasn't so great. So maybe they don't exactly bat 1,000, but they do a good job generally.
There was another Game of Thrones game that wasn't by Telltale?
Oh yeah, it came out a couple years ago. It was very bad.
Oh, wow.
It was not good at all.
I'll have to look that up afterwards. All right, what else came this week?
Let's see. We have Infinity Runner, which will be on PlayStation 4 on April 22nd. Let's see. In Infinity Runner, according to the PlayStation blog post here, you'll find yourself desperately trying to escape a decaying starship and the clutches of terror within. It seems to be a first-person Infinite Runner. I don't know if you know Infinite Runner games on things like mobile, like Temple Run, Cannonball or whatever, where you basically just run until you hit something.
Joe, I sell cell phones for a living. Trust me, I know about Infinite Runner.
Okay. But yeah, this seems to be a first-person version of that on PS4, or at least that's what the name implies. So there you go. Cool. April 22nd.
All right, what else?
Let's see. Well, that's it for release dates, but we have some news for Rainbow Six Siege, the new Rainbow Six game that's coming out soon, or soonish. That's getting a collector's edition over in Europe, for those over there in Britoland. With the collector's edition, you'll get a special collector's edition box, gold skins for all in-game weapons, and a 120-page tactical guide offering information on every counter-terrorist unit, operator, weapon, and map. The company also announced anyone who pre-orders the physical or digital versions of the game will get guaranteed access to the closed beta later this year. So if you're in the UK and are excited for Rainbow Six Siege, there you go.
Very cool. Well, I like that idea. It's a very nice pre-order bonus. You have anything? Are you big into Rainbow Six, Joe?
The only real Rainbow Six time that I've put in was in the early days of the Xbox 360 when Rainbow Six Vegas came out. That game was awesome. Holy shit, that game was awesome. It was a really early showcase of what the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 could do. Because it takes place in Vegas. It's all on the strip basically. So all the lighting looked really cool. And just like, holy shit, this is definitely not something you could do on Xbox or PS2. And the Rainbow Six gameplay is super tactical, so that's fun to a certain extent, depending on who you are. Had a really great terrorist hunt mode, which is a lot of fun in co-op. So, but I didn't really get into Rainbow Six Vegas 2, and I don't think Rainbow Six game has come out since, to be honest. But what they've shown recently seems promising, so I'll keep an eye on that for sure.
Very cool. All right, what else happened this week?
The final bit of news that I have here is that Spotify has finally launched on PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 via the PlayStation Music app or whatever they're calling it. Just kind of showed up on the dashboard one day.
Downloaded it the other day, actually.
Yeah, there you go. Have you checked it out?
I haven't had a chance to. I've been running around a lot. What about you?
I downloaded it, but I haven't launched it because I'm not. Okay, well, let me finish this up here. I guess as you can link, of course, your Spotify account to that. For $9.99, the premium service gets you all that ad-free music or whatever. Apparently, Music Unlimited subscribers, Sony's old music service with active accounts as of March 29th, 2015, can receive 2 free months of free access to Spotify Premium. New and existing Spotify users who have not previously received a trial of Spotify Premium can receive 1 month free. I'm not sure if you can use the free service at all on PS3 or PS4. The free service, you can't. It's there are ads in it. I don't know if you can listen that way on PlayStation, but yeah.
So it's like Pandora. There's commercials in it, or
I mean, if you use the free service, but I don't know if you can use the free service on PlayStation. That's fine. We'll see.
We'll check that out. We'll report on it next week.
Sure.
Alrighty. So if that was the last bit of news, and I don't have anything else to talk about,
all right.
So I guess it's time for the drop.
Indeed, it is, Malcolm.
All right. What hit the fan this week?
Let's see. Over on PlayStation 3, you can get Anna, the extended edition for on digital only. That game is $14.99. You can get Axiom Verge for PlayStation 4. You can get that for $19.99, or if you're on PlayStation Plus, $17.99. You can get Doodle Kingdom on PlayStation Vita as a digital title. That game will run you $5.99. MLB 15 The Show on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, and Vita at digital and retail. $59.99 on PS4, $39.99 on PS3, $19.99 on PlayStation Vita. Let's see here. MX versus ATV Untamed shows up as a PS2 classic on PS3 for, I assume, $9.99. Yes. Paperbound is on PlayStation 4 as a digital title. You can grab that for $9.99. Rack and Ruin. Oh, wait, no. Well, Rack and Ruin on PS4 for $14.99 as a digital title. RBI Baseball 15 on PS4 for the price of $19.99. Not on PS3 this time. I think it was on PS3 last year. That's interesting. Run Sackboy Run is on PlayStation Vita as a digital title. I think that's free to play. It should be free to play. It's a free to play game on mobile. Yep. Here you go for you From Software enthusiasts. Shadow Tower shows up as a PS1 digital classic for $5.99. That's PS3 and Vita, of course. I think that was one of the first games they did on PS1. So if you want to see what they did before, go ahead. Tabletop Cricket on PS3 as a digital title for, what is it? $12.99. There you go. Tokaiden Kiwami, a new Tokaiden game on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation Vita for $59.99 on PS4. I assume $39.99 on Vita. Yep. I think that's a cross-save game. So if you buy both versions, you can continue back and forth. That's cool. Let's see. What is it? Square Enix has a couple of triple packs here. The Ultimate Action triple pack on PS3, which includes Tomb Raider, Sleeping Dogs, and Just Cause 2, $29.99. The Stealth triple pack, Thief, Deus Ex, Human Revolution, and Hitman Absolution, also $29.99. Those are on PS3 only, though. And finally, Whoa Dave on PS4 for as a digital title, $4.99. But it's a cross-buy game with the PS Vita. So if you pick that up on PlayStation Plus, you can grab that for free. Finally, Orishika Tainted Bloodlines gets a PlayStation Vita demo. That came out a couple weeks ago, I think, on Vita. So you can check it out now for free for a little bit. Let's see. There's a big sale on Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. There's a sale on Battlefield 4 stuff. Big Batman sale as well, both movies and video games. And what else here? Forget what else there was. I feel there was a chapter of something. I guess if you're still playing WWE 2K15, the Path of the Warrior 2K showcase is up. So there you go. That's all the stuff I see here.
Alrighty. Well, with that being said, let's head straight into the interview. Where Joe, who did you interview from Axiom?
Let's see. I interviewed Axiom Verge co-creator and sole developer Thomas Happ, who sat down with me very kindly for about 15 or 20 minutes to talk about a lot of the kind of a lot of the behind the scenes stuff going on with Axiom Verge. Mm-hmm. I didn't ask them very much about they were because the game wasn't out yet. They didn't want to be super spoilery, so I didn't ask them very much about the story and the gameplay, because that's all stuff. So I asked them more about just the behind the scenes stuff about being the one person to develop this giant game. So I think it's pretty
awesome.
But yeah, that will be entering your ear holes right about now. And welcome. I'm here for the Firmware Update podcast, as usual, but I have a couple of special guests here. I have the creator of Axiom Verge, an upcoming game, Thomas Happ, as well as Dan Adelman. Say hey, guys.
Hello. Hello.
Cool beans. So I haven't done an interview here on the show in a pretty long time, so I might be a little rusty, but I hopefully everybody here will bear with me. But for those who don't quite know, Tom, could you tell us a little bit about what Axiom Verge is? What kind of sets it apart from other games out there?
Axiom Verge is a classic-styled, side-scrolling action-adventure game that has a meta element of glitches and glitching enemies and the environments, and this kind of overall, theme of a world that has bugs in it, not the crawly kind, but the digital kind. So, it's at its base, it's an action platformer exploration game, but it adds a lot of other elements to the mix as well.
Awesome. And I don't know if some people might not have seen it, but the game I think is very impressive just to kind of look at and just kind of experience. And it would be impressive coming from a team of like a dozen or more people, but you've been working on it pretty much single-handedly. What kind of prior experience do you have in game development?
So while I was working on Axiom Verge, I was working as a programmer at Petroglyph Games. And before that, I've worked at EA as an animator and what they call a technical artist, who's, in my capacity, it was kind of like as a shader writer. I've worked at a couple of other companies besides that, like smaller ones, kind of alternating between animation and programming, depending on what was available and what, I felt like doing at the time. So that in a lot of ways I had already had experience with most aspects of game development just through that.
Oh, okay. I mean, so what parts did you have to kind of bone up on in this, an undertaking like this? I mean, did you compose music as well, or?
I did, and that was something I'd done before too, but mostly as a hobby. So I'd always had an affinity for writing music, and particularly game music. For a couple of other games I did for pleasure and one for work, I actually wrote a score using a mod tracker kind of software, if you know what that is. I had some experience in it before. Probably the Axiom Verge soundtrack is, the most advanced thing I've done, but I had certainly done it before and had some exposure.
Oh, all right. I mean, so which part of the game's development would you say was the most challenging? What are kind of the, I guess, unique experiences that kind of come from flying solo on a project, like Axiom Verge?
I don't know. For me, the most difficult thing is definitely the public relations and marketing and business and that sort of thing, because there's just so much to know that I didn't even always know what I needed to know to begin with. So that was why I eventually ended up hooking up with Dan, was because I just, I needed some kind of guidance for, how do I contact people for localization? How do I contact people for merchandising? What do I do to get people to know that the game exists so that I can keep on making games?
Oh.
So, yeah.
That's cool. I mean, so how long has Dan been on board, kind of helping you out here with the business end of things?
About 6 months.
Yeah, I think so. So we had our first meeting. I think it was at PAX. Which I think is must have been September or so. So yeah, just about 6 months now. I had quit my job at Nintendo in August, so it was pretty soon after I left my job that we got in touch, and we had a few conversations, and then really started working on it kind of as a major project together. Just a couple weeks later, I think we pretty quickly early on we kind of agreed that this was the kind of thing both of us were really looking to do. So it's been working out really great.
So I mean, what about you, free Dan? So I guess you left Nintendo to go and kind of do this as kind of a kind of a mercenary type PR dude for indie studios. Is that correct?
Well, I personally don't like to think of it as like a mercenary kind of thing. In fact, I actually have been approached by a lot of game developers for helping with their games, and there are PR agencies out there who will just take on lots of clients and kind of spread their time across. And I tend, just my personality type, it's just the kind of thing where I'm either all in or I'm not. And so I'm not sure I could do a very effective job of just like coming in at the 11th hour and calling up press and not really knowing much about the game. So I kind of have tried to the extent possible, adopted this game as if it were my own, even though, not to take away anything from Tom, who actually, this actually is his baby. But I try to think of it as if it were my own, and kind of have that that desire to do really whatever it takes to help it succeed. There are a lot of games out there that, if I'm not feeling super excited about, I just really won't pursue it. I figure I can only handle at this level of attention only a handful of games, and so right now I'm really focused on 2 games only. Axiom Verge is one, and Chasm is another. And Axiom Verge certainly has been taking up the majority of my time for the last couple months.
Excellent. And I guess going back to the game, reading through other interviews and watching other interviews, I've heard you guys or Tom list a number of inspirations for Axiom Verge when talking about it. Whether it's Metroid, Bionic Commando, Contra, Master Blaster, they all kind of come up. What kind of experiences have you had with those games that kind of drove you to create this? Are there any other influences at play as well, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, many, typically I even forget some of the influences, but, when I was first making it, it was up in the air what kind of game I wanted to make. And I was actually just sort of looking at different games to see what inspired me. So, I was, kind of putting together this idea that it would be like a mix of Bionic Commando and Rygar, and then, maybe have some of the aesthetics, that you see in, Shatterhand, or Batman, the NES game. I was also, kind of looking at Metal Slug for its boss designs, and Contra, actually Contra 3 with its boss designs, and also its just general like controls and weapons and responsiveness. So, like a great many things all kind of converged until I, kind of like figured out what elements fit together and which didn't, and sort of solidified it. So in the end, it has, this distinctive Metroid influence, but that wasn't necessarily what I set out to do.
Excellent. And without getting, I know you guys don't want to get into spoilers, but like just touching on the very basics of the story, like what's the fiction of, Axiom Verge? I haven't heard much about the story at all.
So you play as a scientist who experiences this kind of cataclysmic accident during an experiment in his lab, and the next thing he knows, he wakes up on or in this alien world. So much of the story is just about trying to figure out how he got there, what's his purpose there, what happened in his accident to cause it. So it's a bit of a mystery that you untangle.
Cool. And over the course of development, you've been showing the game at several places. You guys kind of just came off of a couple of grueling weeks that included GDC, PAX East, South by Southwest. Do you run into many people that are either younger or just less experienced players in general that don't recognize some of the influences in the game? What's kind of the impression that they're getting from Axiom Verge so far, or that you're getting from them, rather?
Well, I can't speak for South by Southwest because I wasn't at that one. Dan was. Okay. But for the other two, and for most of the other shows I've been to, it seems to be that the people that go to those know all the games. I don't think I've had anyone come up to me that was like, oh, I've never seen anything like this, or oh yeah, didn't they play this back in the olden days? Most people knew, where it was coming from, and were kind of like quick to, adapt to it. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I was actually pleasantly surprised at South by Southwest that there were a couple families like where there was a father and son, and the son maybe was like 8 years old, and the father would say, I'm raising my kids like starting with NES games, and then once they've played a lot of NES games, then I'll move them on to Super NES, and so it happened a couple times that there were younger kids who actually knew about some of those older games. And one instance in particular, I remember there was a group of kids, I think they were all like 12 or 13, and they came up and they started playing it. And one of the first things that happens in the game is you start out and you hear a voice telling you to go get a gun. And this 12-year-old said, oh, wow, that's just like Metroid. You have to go left at the beginning of the game to go get a gun. And it's like, how did you know that at the beginning of Metroid you have to go left to get the gun? Like, that's... That game was made like 15 years before you were even born.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I have faith in the new generation.
Speaking of the convention scene, I guess, I've attended both as, kind of a regular fan and as part of the media. But what kind of goes into preparing for something like that as a dev? Are there differences between fan events like PAX and more kind of industry events like E3? Like what's the general difference in feel that people might not know?
So I was fortunate enough that E3 and PAX Prime were both hosted by Sony, so they had actually set up the whole, like the booth and the kiosk and everything, and they had a giant screen up with videos of the games playing. So I didn't have to do much of setup for that. I just kind of showed up, and it was basically meeting people. And then I didn't actually have to do like my own separate booth until I was at the PlayStation Experience. And then again for PAX East, we were part of the Cooler Master booth, but we still had to bring our own like signage and that kind of thing. So I don't know. I think it's kind of similar, because even at E3, I know it's supposed to be only industry people, but for some reason there's a lot of people that are just gamers, like they're just the friends and family of the industry, and I felt it was like pretty similar, just the difference being that with PAX also there are board games and card games involved in the show. So PAX is a little bit like less focused directly on you and more on the general like nerd culture, whereas E3 and PlayStation Experience are more just gamers and only focused on the games.
And I guess it'd be interesting to know, like, what kind of what parts of the game do you think are you more nervous for people to experience, and which parts do you think are you really excited for them to see?
Man, I don't know. I think I might be just kind of numb to the notion of being afraid of people, experiencing something they won't like now. I think at the start, in my formative days, like back in 2012, I think it was, I released a trailer, and I actually gave a very, very, very early demo to a guy at GameSpot for him to stream. And in the original iteration of the story, there was probably 2 or 3 times as much expository dialogue, and there was this thread in NeoGAF that just totally eviscerated me. It was like, oh my god, this game does everything that a game should not do, is kind of what people said. Like, it is so bad, they constantly talk. And it was funny, because you mentioned, like the familiarity of players with classic games. And I actually counted how much dialogue there was in Super Metroid. And I was like, oh, well, I have way less than that. No one's going to care. But the thing is, no one remembers just how long you watch Samus's typewritten intro to that game. Yeah. It just drags on. And no one remembered that. So it's kind of like you're competing against their memories of how games were or should be. So I ended up having to cut out a whole lot, and that was something that I was always afraid of, because then after I did that, I didn't hear any comments on it, good or bad. So I didn't know what to think until eventually I had a couple of people be like, it's kind of weird that in this one part, the character has no reaction to what just happened. And that was because I cut out the dialogue, being afraid there was too much. So now there was too little. So I think that's the main thing. I never know what people are thinking with regards to the story.
And now that the game's finished and being prepped for release very soon, what's next for you going forward? Do you think you'll continue to develop games on your own, or?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to starting on a sequel or a prequel or something. But that's still a ways off, because we've got, once the PlayStation 4 version is out, we have the PC and the Vita, and then we're going to need to come out with both editions for Asia and Japan, hopefully. So, we're going to have our hands full for a few months comings. And then, on top of that, my wife is pregnant, so we're expecting a baby to come, and sometime in the fall. So I'm expecting that it's going to be a while before I can actually start on something new.
Well, congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you.
All right. So, I guess, is there anything that you're looking forward to catching up on, whether it's games or anything else? Anything on the horizon that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, Chasm is one that I always forget to mention, but Dan is also helping out with Chasm, and I kind of have this relationship with the Chasm developer where we're, somehow tied together existentially. I'm also looking forward to whenever it may release Hyperlight Drifter. Batman is a big favorite of mine just because it's so, it's almost like a beat 'em up version of Metroid Prime kind of game.
Yeah, it kind of is.
And it has Batman in it. So, I'm looking forward to that. Probably more than anything, I'm just eager to play all the games I haven't been able to play in the past 5 years. So, like right now, I'm playing Sleeping Dogs, which I think came out in like 2011 or something, in 2010. And all these games that everyone has already played and forgotten about are brand new to me, so I'm experiencing them for the first time.
Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on that I might have forgotten about that you really want people to get in front of people, that you want to get in front of people about Axiom Verge?
Axiom Verge is coming out for PlayStation 4 on March 31st. If you have a PlayStation Prime subscription, you get 10% off for that first week. If you would like, you can follow me at Axiom Verge on Twitter. I've also got the website axiomverge.com and a facebook.com/Axiom Verge are all ways you can keep abreast of Axiom Verge news.
Excellent. Well, I guess that's pretty much it. I've taken up a surprising amount of time with this, what I thought was just a few questions. But I guess I'll let you guys get back to it and get back to making sure that this thing launches and everyone's excited for it.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Joe.
Well, thank you very much, Tom and Dan.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Wow, what an amazing interview.
Hot damn!
Yeah, wow.
We're
the energy in there. Wow.
Yeah. Oh, and I also want to thank Dan Adelman, who was also there for the interview. He's kind of the business liaison for Thomas, because for all his wizardry, developing this video game, the business aspect of Axiom Verge comes from Dan. So thank you to Dan as well for helping us set up the interview in the first place.
Wonderful. Awesome. All right. With that being said, Axiom Verge is out now. All embargoes are lifted, including reviews. And Joe, you sat down and you have played Axiom Verge.
I dove right in, Malcolm.
All right. Well, Joe, tell me, how was it?
Pretty goddamn great, I would say. Real good game that Mr. Thomas Happ made there. Still can't believe it's only one person who made it, because pretty much every aspect of the game, from the graphics, the gameplay, the music, all of it, just the story, it's all very impressive. It's all real good stuff. And as Mr. Thomas explained in the interview, it's an exploration 2D action adventure platformer, more colloquially known as a Metroidvania. Not my favorite word, but it gets the job done. You say Metroidvania, you know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, is there a word you would use, or
no? Because I've a lot of people have racked their brains trying to figure out something better than mashing together the name of two different games. But I mean, yeah, it does its job well, I guess. But Metroid being the biggest influence on the game, to the point where you go left, right when you start and everything to get the first item that you need. But it's hardly the only influence. There's a lot of Contra, there's a lot of Master Blaster, Bionic Commando, and Rygar in there as well, especially Contra in terms of the kind of gunplay and bullet kind of avoidance there. Kind of feels like the way the Shovel Knight did before, where it takes the best parts of all these primary influences and kind of molds it into something that is really its own thing. It's a little bit more forgiving than the older games as well. There's a lot of save points, which are kind of which are similar to what you would find in Metroid, where you go into a room, you stand in the middle, you press up, and you save. It's pretty generous with save points. And they also replenish your health and your items every time you use them. So it's a pretty forgiving game, even though there's a fair amount of difficulty as well. So it's not aiming to grind you down and punish you, but it's the difficulty is there for those who want that. Visually speaking, it's kind of largely between an 8 and 16-bit game, even if the boss sprites are way above anything that a Super Nintendo or Genesis could ever handle. Like the animation on, like the detail and the animation on the bosses is like incredible. Like the character that you control, his name is Trace. He seems like a pretty basic 8-bit sprite, and so do a lot of the enemies. But the bosses are like super detailed, and the animate is super, like it's amazing. It's like, especially when you defeat them, they explode in a really cool way as well. So it's really impressive stuff. The music. Oh, go ahead.
No. I was about to say sweet, so go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, like the music is great as well. Really accentuates the aesthetic of all the different areas. Like Metroid, like these 2D, the 2D Metroids, like you have this, you're on this planet, Zebes or whatever. But it's also broken down to like into 8 different areas or whatever. You've got Brindstar here and this and that. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like this is kind of the same way. Like there's I don't know, like 7 or 8 different, I guess, subworlds that you have to kind of traverse or whatever. And they all have their own different aesthetic, and the music is very good at kind of highlighting the differences as well. Like really, just a lot of really cool, unique music. And again, it's incredible that this one person was able to do all of this. Like I even asked him during the interview, like was there any one part that was especially difficult to do? And like the only thing he said that he had real trouble with was like the business side of things, not necessarily the game itself. It's like, wow, okay, you're a wizard. The weapons are more varied than you would find in any 2D Metroid or Castlevania. Like I said, it's very Contra-esque, where it's mostly bullets and stuff. But you use them not only to enter different areas once you acquire once inaccessible areas, but you use them in different ways to defeat different bosses and enemies. The most unique weapon, of course, is the glitch gun, which alters enemy behavior and also opens certain areas. The way it alters enemies, sometimes it makes them easier to kill, by making them slower or making enemies just easier to hit in general. Like there's this one enemy that kind of, I guess physically, I guess he's more similar to kind of like a balloon, I guess. Not the way he behaves, but just the shape of him. Imagine a balloon, right? Like you could, the only part that you could actually hit an effect normally is, the actual balloon itself, the string. You can't hit the string. You can shoot through the string, but it doesn't hurt him. But if you glitch him out, the hitbox becomes like, I don't know if you remember Pokemon, Malcolm, but like if you use the Game Genie, you could fight this mysterious Pokemon called Missing No. Yeah, like he becomes basically that, and you can hit all of it, so he becomes much easier to hit and slower, and he shoots slow. So on top of unlocking certain areas, it makes enemies easier to kill. Sometimes they even become friendly. Like there's this one enemy that kind of just sits in one place, but it kind of like spouts tinier enemies that kind of like swarm and shoot at you. But if you glitch him out, instead of shooting out tiny enemies, he shoots out health. It's like, oh, all right. So I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff in between. Just opening areas with the glitch gun. You can also alter enemies, and it's between all the weapons and this glitch gun, there's a whole mess of ways to tackle the game.
Oh, wow.
The only thing though, one of the nitpicks though, is that the boss fights, as impressive as the bosses are, and they're pretty difficult at first, but once you figure out the pattern or figure out how to use your items exactly, they come pretty pedestrian actually, which is kind of weird. Like, oh, this enemy is like, all right, if I just like, there's this one enemy, it's like, all right, I got to make sure I got to use this glitch gun to make these walls here, to glitch in these walls that weren't there before. But suddenly it's like, oh, I've got all this protective barrier, and I just got to pop out of cover every few seconds, and just that's pretty much it. It's like, okay.
It's funny you say that, because when you say it like that, it really does remind me of Metroid, which Metroid was kind of designed with speedrunners in mind. Do you think that could have been it?
Not necessarily. I mean, there is a speedrun mode that's specifically for speedrunners. That the main menu, the title screen is new, continue, options, and speedrun. And the cool thing about speedrun, I didn't play the speedrun mode, but what it does is it standardizes what's usually like random behavior. Like enemies, like in the normal gameplay, enemies will sometimes drop health, but there's no way to really know when they'll drop health. It just kind of happens when it happens. But in speedrun mode, like each like specific characters in like any corridor, like, oh, this guy will always drop health. This guy will always behave this way, instead of randomly doing attack patterns or movement patterns or whatever. So it standardizes a lot of the random stuff that you'd find in the game normally. And there's also a clock just always on screen, so you know exactly what your time is.
But with the bosses, like if you watch a speedrun of Metroid, you'll see bosses that would normally be like this big freaking thing for me to defeat, and they'll take them out in like 2 seconds just by spinning into their face like 5 seconds.
Well, like I said though, like in normal mode, like in the normal gameplay, like some of the behaviors would be randomized, but in speedrun mode they would behave the same way every time. Like they would follow the exact attack patterns, or movement patterns, so that that speed run is standardized. Like you know that your time against somebody, like your time, it's like, oh, I took 5 hours to beat the game, or this guy took 5.5 hours, so I exactly what you did better than somebody else, as opposed to making it all random in terms of the movement and the attack pattern. So
you say this all, but just watch, speedrunners are going to beat it on the normal game too. So
there's a speedrun mode. They don't have to. They know exactly that, because it tracks, like, on top of all this stuff, standardizing. Like I said, there's a clock right there on screen at all times. So it's in your best interest to just do the speedrun mode. It's easier to track what you're doing.
We'll see. Is that, aside from the bosses becoming pedestrian once you learn the patterns and whatnot, which is true for a lot of games, are there anything else that you don't like about the game?
Honestly, the only other nitpick that I have is that the map, not the world, but the map itself. When you press the touchpad to look at the map, it's a little hard to read. You can't zoom in on it at all. So you have to either play on a huge TV or sit really close to be able to distinguish what the walls or doors are on the map. Because you play any Metroidvania, and on the map you look at the map, right? And the line is a little thicker to kind of to outline. It's like, oh, this is the barrier of the room. You can't go any higher, or you can't go any more left than this. But or like, here's the little tiny line to distinguish this is a doorway. It's really hard to see that stuff. So I had to kind of walk up to the TV when I paused the game to see exactly where I needed to go. But aside from, the game world is huge too. It's very, like, it's a much bigger game than you would expect from something made by a single person. Again, I thought, like, I was very thorough playing the game. I beat it in 14.5 hours, just under. Let's see, my total time here. I've got the screenshot. My final stats were 14 hours, 26 minutes, 51 seconds. But I only saw 89% of the map. I only collected 67% of the items, which included weapons, tools, power ups, things like that. Like, I thought it was super thorough. I was like, I would wager that like 3 of those hours was backtracking. Once I collected new weapons, I was like, oh, this thing that I couldn't reach before is like, or this room that was like this part of the room that I know was inaccessible before. It's like, I've got this cool little thing. Let me backtrack 20 minutes and see what's what. And that was like 3 hours of my gameplay, and I still like collected 67% of the things. So yeah, huge game. But story wise as well, it goes in some pretty great directions, I think. The baseline plot is you play as this guy named Trace. He works in this he's a physicist or something. He's working in this place, and there's like an explosion at the place, and when he wakes up, he's on this crazy world that definitely isn't where he works. He kind of just wakes up in this giant egg, which is also the save point, and he starts exploring this world, and that's pretty much all I can really say without spoiling anything. But like I discussed earlier, or not earlier today, but before on other shows, other people have pointed out how many other Metroidvanias kind of forget how important story was to Metroid. It doesn't touch on the same, obviously it doesn't touch on the same motherhood themes as Metroid, but it's definitely no lightweight. And I only played it one time as well, but it feels like something that would definitely have multiple endings based on either the items you collect or other factors as you play through the game. There are a couple of points where like, oh, maybe if I did this differently, maybe something else would happen at the end. But
sadly, Joe, I know that you didn't play the dimming mode.
There's not a dimming mode; it's an option. There's an option in the menu that reduces the flickering of all the glitch stuff.
Yeah, so I don't know if I can, but so you pretty much answered most, if not all, my questions here. I can't really think of anything else. So you know how our rating system works. We have buy it.
It seems to change every time.
It doesn't skip it. It doesn't change.
What is it this week? Awesome.
All right. There's buy it.
Okay.
There's wait for it on sale. There's bargain bin, which is when it's like so ridiculously low it may as well be free. Or we got red box it, or which we can't really use.
You can't rent it or red box.
But red box it is an option. And of course, there's skip it entirely. So what would you give?
No, without question, you buy it and you buy it now. Honestly, it's for $17.99 or $20. Either price is a bargain for the size that the game is. Like, there's so much to explore. There's so much to do, and it's very super replayable as well. So on top of just being an excellent game with a really cool story, I can't recommend it enough. It's a really great game. I think right now, for me personally, it is probably a front runner for my game of the year.
Okay, all right. So
it is as much as I hate using the term Metroidvania, but it's an easy. It's kind of what the genre is. So it's definitely up there amongst the great Metroidvania games that aren't specifically Super Metroid or Symphony of the Night. It's
I can tell who's gonna be the Shovel Knight this year.
because I mean, like other games, like you've got like which are like great games, like Guacamelee, great game, pretty short game. You can beat, like I've beaten it several times, beat it in about 6 hours every time. And there's not much to explore. Like it's very easy to 100% that game. And there's some tricky platforming sections, but nothing too difficult you can't wrap your head around. But besides that, pretty easy game to 100%. Shadow Complex, a lot of fun as well on Xbox 360, but the story is blah. Like you're just some dude, who cares? You're just collecting stuff because it's cool to collect stuff, which is fine. It's a lot of fun to collect all the stuff in that game, but the story is pretty bare boned. But this Axiom Verge is really kind of like, it's not only an ode to Metroidvania, it's kind of like an interactive analysis of what makes that genre so great. It's like, yes, it's like Thomas Happ clearly understands, like, yes, this is what's great about Metroid, and here it is in action. Like, yeah, all right, man, awesome.
Well, do me a favor, since you have a connection to the developer now, maybe you can ask him to send a copy of the game to Nintendo, and we can get some more Metroid games. How about that?
Yeah, that'd be great.
I would. All
it's
right.
I can't my highest recommendation.
Indeed. Well, folks, there's our review of Axiom Verge. Go get it. How much is it right now, Joe? Do you remember?
$17.99 on PlayStation Plus. $19.99. Well, it's only $17.99 for its opening week. $19.99 after for everybody, for pretty much everybody. So I'd say it's a bargain at twice the price.
Indeed. All right, folks. So go get that. Meanwhile, folks, we've actually got mail this week. So let's go over to the mailbag. And once again, folks, if you want to write into the show, you can do so just by sending an email to firmwareupdatepodcast@gmail.com. That's firmwareupdatepodcast@gmail.com. And you could be like RK, who's back from the dead. Missed like 3-4 shows, it felt like. And he writes in, long time no write, guys. Sorry about that. A lot of crap in the last few weeks. Started a new shift at work where I have to work an extra hour a day, and by the time I get home, I don't feel like getting on the computer and writing, as that's what I do all day at work. That's a long sentence. Wow.
Weird voice you're doing.
Yeah, it's a run-on sentence voice. He started turning into Jerry Seinfeld there. So like,
what's the deal with?
What is the deal with this extra hour at work? I come home, they have me write all day, I don't feel like writing a letter. Anyway, I skipped the entire verses section in your okay, by verses he means Final Fantasy 15. He's still calling it verses 13. He doesn't know it's 15, does he?
From what I remember, RK is very insistent on calling it whatever the original intent of the developers was. Like, I think he calls Gravity Rush Gravity Days just because that's what they call it.
Well, listen to it. Like, I skipped the verses section in your last podcast because I knew it'd be ladled with spoilers. And if you remember, I consider everything a spoiler, including official trailers. And they announced in an official trailer that it was Final Fantasy 15 now. So he doesn't know yet that it's Final Fantasy 15, not verses.
I'm pretty sure he saw the E3 conference where they announced it. So.
No, I'd imagine he just skips conferences entirely. It's just full of trailers. He has no idea what's coming out next year.
Oh, man. Wait till he hears about the PlayStation 4.
Oh, wow.
Priced at $399, Malcolm.
He is really excited for Last Guardian still. What happened to that game? I seem to be in the minority as one of the people who bought Akito for the game itself and not the demo for Versus. Despite getting it on launch day, I've only been able to play a game a few times. I put in an hour the day I got the game, and about an hour on Saturday night. And 12 hours this past... Okay, that's substantial. There you go.
Took a leap there.
The game is everything I wanted and more. A level grinder's dream. Seriously, one of the best active battle systems for any JRPG I've ever played. And I plan to put some serious time into it this coming weekend. It's not likely I'll play the Versus demo until I got the Platinum for Agito. But don't worry. I'm used to platining JRPGs, so I've already got 47%. RK is pretty fantastic good at platinuming games. One of the few friends I have that's actually a higher trophy level than me, but it's kind of ridiculous how much he's got it. But by comparison, Malcolm's got, for crying out loud, I just uploaded the trophies and you don't even have the trophies under your profile, which means you haven't even put the disc in your PS4 yet.
Are you telling me, Malcolm Spinelli, that I'm further along in the Final Fantasy game than you are?
Yes, you are.
Because I've earned trophies in that game.
Because, when I finally did get it, because I got the collectors, so it was like the weekend before I finally got it. And then a few days later, Bloodborne came out, so there you go. I just uploaded your trophies. You don't even have the trophies on your profile, meaning you never put it in. The level of shame I feel for it is unbearable. Like, okay, how about this? I know it's Final Fantasy 15 and you don't. That's pretty unbearable too.
You know what, Malcolm?
What?
I'm also ashamed of you.
Yeah,
Okay.
You need to shut your face and pop Bloodborne in, or Jesus Christ.
For shame.
I'd expect this from Joe, but not a fellow RPG fan of you, Malcolm. Hey, I'm technically playing...
You've disappointed the arcade. There is no greater shame.
There's no shame here. I'm playing another RPG. That's what's happened here. Let's see how many Joe has. He has 0%. Okay, how do you have nothing and you've played the game?
Well, no, I've told you I've gotten trophies. He must have looked before or after. Or before, I guess. I don't know. But I've got look, I'll show you my PSN account right now.
All right. It says he's playing Chapter 1, so that's promising. Good on you, Joe. And
Fucking you're right.
Anyway, hopefully I'll plat it by the end of April and go back and listen to your review of the demo. Anyway, I want to talk superheroes for a bit. Oh, well, you're in the right podcast for that. I'm also in the minority of online voices who are in love with the show Powers. Yes, the budget is low, but they make it
You're low. You're low.
The effects like teleportation, multi-form, super strength, glowing eyes, etc. are done really well in the show. The only thing that looks wonky is flight.
Oh yeah, jeez.
But I take it they can't afford more comfortable harnesses. Oh, that's great.
There's some real jerky. There's some real jerky flying motion where it's like, oh, they clearly pulled really hard in this direction here.
All right, you need to look up Google Puma Man flying and tell me if it's that bad. Puma Man is a very classic Mystery Science Theater review there. But anyway, the only thing that's harnesses. By the way, is that really what you want to say? Is like when you're lifting an actor up in the air and it's like, just so you know, we have really terrible harnesses.
Just so you know, this is gonna really hurt your balls.
Those poor guys. So they look like they fly by conjuring a ghost to give them a wedgie. And
I'm telling you, man, it's real rough.
Other than that, the effects are great. The characters seem deplorable in many aspects, but people seem to praise Watchmen for that. They're terrible human beings. Give it an Oscar. Never heard of these actors before, but the guy playing Johnny Royal and the guy playing Wolf are amazing. The guy playing Wolf is actually Eddie Izzard, who's actually a very acclaimed comedian, as well as being a very acclaimed actor. Also, he cross-dresses too. But aside from that, he's a fantastic actor. I love a good villain, and they are great. Walker is cool, but seems to be a bit of a spoiled brat for now. I think we aren't supposed to like him much at this stage, but that's fine. I still like the guy, despite being a douche. I'm just in the less than the aforementioned. I just like him less than the aforementioned. I also want you guys' opinion on how Cap 3 will go. Given the fact the comics are basically Iron Man versus Captain America, you think they'd make Stark the bad guy since this is Cap's movie. However, Robert Downey Jr. is the highest paid actor in Hollywood last time I checked, so I don't know if they'd make him unlikable. I thought Sofia Vergara was the highest paid actor. Oh well. But,
no, because Rob, on top of whatever guaranteed money he gets, he also, I think his contract, unlike the other Marvel actors, is that he also gets a small percentage of what the movies gross. So yeah, he makes a lot of money out of those movies.
But at the same time, I don't see him making Cap the bad guy of his own movie. What do you guys think? Now, if I remember Civil War, Joe, the way they did it, you actually saw both characters' point of view, at least at the beginning.
Yeah.
As just to go over at least the comic book version of the story, it began with like this other band of superheroes whose names I can't remember, but their deal were there were a bunch of youngsters who actually had a reality TV show, and one day,
something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And while they were being recorded, they were fighting this bad guy called Nitro, and they fought it in this in the populated neighborhood, like right in front of a school bus full of children. And Nitro retaliated by exploding, which I guess is his power, and he killed like all the children, everyone in the neighborhood, quite a lot of people, and it was
a lot of people died,
and it was on TV too. In regards to that, people started turning on superheroes because blaming it. They blamed us. Of course, they blame it all on superheroes in general, saying if superheroes weren't around and just the cops do their job, then none of this would have happened. Like they had like this mass funeral, which Tony Stark actually goes to, and one of the mothers of the children spat in his face, called him a son of a bitch, and said, "This is people like you for the reason for this." And it like that, you see this like greatly shake up Tony Stark. You got Johnny Storm, one of the Fantastic Four, who will not be in this movie, but he actually gets jumped at a nightclub he's going to just because he's a superhero as well. So from this, the government decides to make the Human Registration Act, which like everyone, essentially all superheroes become a member of S.H.I.E.L.D. They'll get health benefits, pay, be government agents. But part of it, and this is kind of the weird part for me, is like they have to publicly announce who they are.
Yeah.
Ditch the secret identity.
Yeah, the Superhero Registration Act is what happened.
Yeah, and it gets to a point where like Maria Hill, who at the time is the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. and is not at all how she is in the comic as she is in the movies, but she basically corners Cap, tells him this is going to happen, and Cap's against it, and she basically goes up to him and is like, "How's this going to go?" And she surrounds him, and Cap is against it, and she basically tells the guys to take him, and Captain America is Captain America, and he kicks everyone's ass and escapes. Tony Stark, who's already revealed himself to be Tony Stark, thinks this is a great idea, so he becomes like the figurehead for it.
Yeah.
And you sort of see is because when you think about it, it makes perfect sense, at least on paper. And after they sort of like branch off and they each create their own group, you have the people who are against this and see this as an attack on their civil liberties, and you have Tony Stark's group. You're like, yeah, I wouldn't mind getting paid for this and being seen. And one of the big focal points, which is one of the reasons we were so excited that Spider-Man's back, is that Peter Parker actually appears at a press conference that Iron Man is throwing, and he unmasks.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, this is just like throwing a curveball out here, Joe. How cool would it be if this is how they announce who the actor that's going to play Spider-Man?
That'd be neat, I guess, but I put that at 0% chance of happening.
And I realize now that I've been talking quite a bit, and this is usually your arena, Joe. Is there anything?
Yeah, you decided to just recap the whole story.
My point was basically, the way they pitched it, at least in the beginning, is that both of these guys had reasons for going in the direction they did.
Yeah.
It never was that Tony Stark is an asshole and he's trying to do this. No, it's like he had this really traumatic event at the funeral, and he decided to do what he felt right.
Well, Tony Stark is kind of an asshole though in those comics.
He
starts throwing people into what is it, the negative zone or whatever, with Mr. Fantastic. It was like, well, you're probably swinging this a little far, Mr. Stark.
Yeah, like I said, in the beginning, he starts out okay, but then he just takes a left turn at Dickholeville, and oh man. So
what was the original question again?
It's like, do you think they're going to make him as bad? Because, Disney, and especially with the Robert Downey Jr. Batman, Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man, and, he's sort of like the central character. He's obviously the most popular out of all the Marvel characters right now in the movieverse. Would they take a chance by still making him the bad guy in this movie?
I mean, not necessarily the bad guy, but he's already charmingly dickish in the other movies, so I don't see why they couldn't swing it just a little further to make him a little more, not sinister, but just a little bit more less sympathetic, I guess, in light of like you said, in light of it being Captain America's movie,
Yeah, I mean, I could see it. I don't think it would hurt.
I mean, the guy creates Ultron in the universe. It's not too much of a leap to think he's an asshole.
Yeah, I think asshole Tony will start strongly being hinted at in the next Avengers movie.
Right, which is like 3 weeks away, by the way.
Oh, I can't wait. Oh, I so can't wait. So yeah, I think it's it's more than likely, and it's also more than probable. Because another thing to keep in mind, Robert Downey Jr. isn't going to be playing Iron Man forever.
Right.
And if you're trying, I guess, to lean away from him, like turning him into an asshole might be a good way to go about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could definitely see that. The thing that you need to be concerned about, RK, is how they're going to do the Civil War. Because remember the basic premise of the Civil War are superheroes having to come out and announce who they are. So let's go down the list. You have Iron Man. Everyone knows he's Tony Stark. We have Captain America. Everyone knows he's Steve Rogers. We have Black Widow. Everyone knows her as Agent Romanoff. Hawkeye. Everyone knows who Hawkeye is. So really, all there is the Hulk.
But it's no secret that it's Bruce Banner. Like there are no secret identities in the MCU.
Well, everyone knows it as far as S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't think the general public knows Bruce Banner is Hulk.
Maybe, but either way.
Okay, long story short, it's weak. It's we know who all these characters are. There's no need for a registration. I mean,
yeah. So yeah, like the point of contention in the movie Civil War is up in the air, I guess. Like what they're actually going to be fighting over.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. Like as of press time, the only person that hasn't announced their real identity in the movieverse is Spider-Man, who's making his debut in the story where he unmasks and tells everyone, "Hey, I'm Peter Parker." So
right. I mean, there's no guarantee that they'll go that route for the movie.
It's a shame. That was a huge moment in that story.
Which they retconned immediately anyway. They're like, hey, Mephisto Mephisto, I think, undid the marriage. I think he goes to Doctor Strange. He's like, hey, can you do a spell where nobody remembers I'm Spider-Man? Like, oh, yeah, snap. Snap your fingers. Okay, nobody remembers he's Spider-Man. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and doesn't Spider-Man have, like, this weird habit of making these magical deals every so often? Like, didn't he make one with, I don't know, the devil or Mephisto or something like that? So
yeah.
So his Aunt May, who's like 90 at this point, could come back to life. Let her die, man. Come on.
It was either that or like his marriage to what's her face, Mary Jane.
Well, that's what he had to sacrifice to bring her back. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's what happened with Mephisto. And then with Doctor Strange, kind of undid the whole unmasking thing from Civil War. He's like, I don't like that everybody knows who I am. So he's like, can you snap your fingers and make them forget? And he's like, sure. And that's what happened.
Like, so did he have to trade anything, or is it literally that week of a reset right there?
Yeah, I actually think that's about it.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So, this. So, I mean, since secret identities aren't really in play in the cinematic universe, I think they'll probably there's still room for the Registration Act to be, for the rest of it to be like, yeah, if you want to continue being a superhero, you have to register with the government, which can still be a pretty big point of contention. So even though most of the secretive identities, I think you can still use the core of the law that triggered the Civil War in the comics.
By the way, the Registration Act, from what I understand, it just sort of vanished.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much everything out of Civil War kind of slowly evaporated over the course of a few years.
Yeah, it's like that's the thing I sort of can't stand about comic books. Like, they'll make these grand changes, but then figure out a way to go back to step one again.
Yeah.
It's evolving, but at the same time, never evolving. Right. Anyway, also, thanks to whoever recommended Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon to me, if it was even someone from the show.
I don't remember.
I do not.
But it's a fine show. It's a fun show.
It's a fun, yeah. About 20 episodes in, and I am hooked. I can't believe Marvel can make a TV series this good, given their track record. I don't know. I like the original Spider-Man on Fox from back in the day. Hey,
when was the last time you watched that?
A while, high school.
Yeah. You should go back to that and then amend what you said. It's not great.
I dig the Ultimate Spider-Man pretty well. I like it a lot. I love that Deadpool episode. I don't know why they gave him a team. Like, all they're there for is to distract the enemy until Spider-Man comes back. It's like,
yeah, it's weird. It's like what? It's like Nova and Iron Fist.
Iron Fist. You got the White Tiger lady. What's she called?
I forget. It might be White Tiger.
White Tiger. The Nova's in there, and yeah, I think that's it. And it's nice when they have an episode to themselves, but primarily they're just there for, like, there are parts where, you know, Peter has to think of how to beat the guy, and they distract the guy until he comes back with the formula or the sound system to beat Venom or something. But, you know, it's primarily him carrying. I don't even know why they're there. Anyway, thanks again. Lastly, I wanted to give a bit of progress on my friend Game Dave. Yeah, remember we had him on the show a while back.
did.
As you recall, he was a guest on the show a year or so back. Well, he joined a new partnership with a group on YouTube called Re-Res, and he is doing pretty darn good. How good? Well, those videos aren't doing gangbusters. He's getting the views in 1 week what he'd get in a year on his old channel. He's also attracting the attention of certain people you may be familiar with, like the nostalgia critic himself, Doug Walker. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Doug recently did a personal recommendation for the channel and mentioned Game Dave and showed some clips from a couple of his episodes. If you want, you can go check it out here, and I'll do that. Sorry this email was more talk than questions, but I couldn't think of much to ask this time. I'll do better next time. Thanks for writing in there, RK. Nice to hear you're still alive. Folks, you want to be like RK, you can. Once again, firmware update podcast at gmail.com. And folks, that does it this week for episode 1.40. Thank you so much for joining us on the Firmware Update. If you like what you hear, you can follow us, and you have an Apple device, you can use iTunes to follow the show. Just click on the podcast app and just search for Firmware Update, and there we are right there. You can hit that subscribe button, and we appreciate 5-star reviews as they greatly help the show. Also, if you have an Android device, don't worry. You can download Stitcher Radio, a free app where you can stream every episode that you want. The latest episodes will also be on SoundCloud, so you can stream and download. Or, if you want to make things really, really easy, just buy the app Pocket Cast from the store. It's $3.99 well spent. Allows you to not only follow this show, but any other podcast out there, as it'll allow you to stream as well as download the episode to your phone. Finally, you can also find us on WordPress. You can find us at is it the Firmup or Firmup?
thefirmup.wordpress.com.
Thank you. And you can check us out there, see every episode, and download it right from that site. You can also find us on Twitter at PSMouth for me, at Wans23 for Joe, and at the Firmup for the show itself. And Joe, is there anything else I'm forgetting?
No, sir.
Alrighty. Folks, thank you so much for joining us this week. We will see you next week.
Toodaloo.